This is a Miami Sports Music Podcast Network production. This is the #1 Miami fan morning show. Clock Blockers, let's go.
I know the whole city riding. A little early, it's a bit surprising. Business moves, now we enterprising. Switch it up, now we improvising. Go to get it.
What is up?
Whole squad been trained to go.
How y'all doing today? It is your boy, Stephen D. It is Tuesday, February 21 of the year 2023. Super excited to be hanging out with y'all this morning on this beautiful hot take Tuesday. What's going on? How y'all doing? Did y'all enjoy your long, wonderful weekend? I hope y'all did. I did. Got to spend the whole weekend with the fam. Yesterday, I did absolutely nothing. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. My kids had a 4-day weekend. President's Day was yesterday. So we just hung out around the house, man. It was a lot of fun. It was good stuff. I hope y'all enjoyed the time with your family and got to hang out. Maybe took a break from some of this craziness that's going on with everything. But I'm glad you're back this morning. I'm glad you're right here hanging out with the #1 Miami fan morning show. I am Stephen D. You can follow me on all social media at Stephen D SKPL. Spread kindness, positivity, and love. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Also follow Miami Sports Music on Twitter at MIA Sports Music, and everywhere else is at Miami Sports Music. So make sure you follow them there. On your way in this morning, make sure you hit the like button. Doesn't cost anything. Hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. That's right. Subscribe. It's free. Doesn't cost anything to subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed already, I don't know what you're doing. Get your stuff together. Okay. Subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell notification. And I'm super excited to see you there. It will be good stuff nonetheless. Hey, look, if you want to sign up and become a member today, there are plenty of seats waiting at the table for you. The membership is in the link below, but I'll drop the link right now for you to sign up and become a member today. Okay. Lots of perks that you get. And most importantly, you get to support a channel, which we love, which we appreciate. If you want to help the channel grow by donating, lots of different ways you can do that. You can use the YouTube live super chat, which is the $ below the bottom of the chat, or you can use Cash App or PayPal, which is MSM Podcast Network. Use the QR code that's right on your screen, or MSM Podcast Network QR code right on your screen, right there. Cash App or PayPal, those are greatly appreciated. Anything you guys donate or ladies donate, it's great. So, yes. Anyways, love it. Want to give a big shout out to our sponsors of the show, ZSM Sports. ZSM Sports, the #1 place to get your cars, jerseys, balls, and hard-to-find items. ZSM Sports is the place to get it. Hangry Owls, good food, good mood, craft subs, and salads. Make sure you guys go to Pembroke Pines, Florida, and get the best subs around at Hangry Owls. Give them a call at 305-279-5332. Vasasor. We love Vasasor. Download the Vasasor. Sorry, the official beer of Clock Blockers, born and raised, a beer created for the fans by the fans. Make sure y'all do that. A great place to sit.com. You need tickets to any event coming up. Make sure you guys go on the link below. You'll see the phone number there for them, which is absolutely great. You can give them a call at 954-989-7979. Make sure you use the code word DWA to get 5% off on your tickets. And last but not least, Tail Greeter. We love Tail Greeter. Download the app today on your current Crapple. I can talk all the crap I want about Crapple now. That's right. It's over. I don't have to say anything nice about Apple anymore. Team Android all day. Let's go. Okay. Forget you Apple people. Forget all you Apple people. Hey, download the free app today of Tail Greeter. It's free, doesn't cost anything. And just a big reminder, we got 3 great events coming up for you for next football season. In DC, we have the FedEx Takeover, which is going to be good times. In Philadelphia, we have the Philly Finvasion. And in Baltimore, we have the Baltimore Beat Down, which is all good stuff. And we hope that you're hanging out with us. It is Hot Take Tuesday. We love Hot Take Tuesday because there's nothing but fire in hot takes. Yeah, look, I mean, it was a great weekend. There was so much to kind of talk about. I'm going to have Nando talk on in a little while. We're going to get into the Dolphins talk. It's going to be good stuff. Let me say good morning to everybody in the chat first. I haven't done that. Raul, good morning. Good morning, Raul. How are you? Kenna, what is going on? Man's a chill. All you people with your Team Apple, Team Android all day. Chef Shu is in the building. Who else we got up in here? Kung Fu Tuna. Hello, Kung Fu Tuna. Trucker Sean is in the building. What else we got up in here? Yeah, man. I'm trying to see. I think that's it. Cesar. What's up, Cesar? How are you? Rick Spar, Kevin Lee. What's up? Guys, make sure you hit that like button and share the link. Let people know that we're here. Trucker Sean is in the building. Trucker Sean, my guy, Trucker. Good morning, y'all. Super excited to be here. Yeah, again, so this weekend, just hung out with the fam. I watched a lot of stuff this weekend. I'm a huge I'm just going to kind of run down the weekend of what I did and the sporting events that I observed over the weekend and just my thoughts. Don't go anywhere. Dolphins talk's going to be in full swing this morning. We're going to talk about the press conference with Vic Fangio. As a matter of fact, we're going to rewatch it a little bit today. And I'm just going to give you my reaction to some of the things that he said. And then we're going to talk about stealing other teams' defensive coordinators, which I'm super excited about. Let me tell you, that one took me by surprise, and I thought it was I think it says a lot about the team and where we're headed. So I'm super excited. So we'll have to see, man. All right, let's see here, man. Let's go into this weekend. So Daytona was this weekend. I'm a huge NASCAR fan, but a lot of people just think NASCAR is the Daytona 500. No, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes down. It's called Daytona Week. It's called Speed Week. It's not what it used to be. Back in the day, you used to get like 11 straight days of racing events in Daytona. Now they open up the year on the West Coast, and then they wait a week, and then the Super Bowl happens, and then they come back and they do this, what is the Super Bowl of motor racing event, the Daytona 500. But it was really cool. There was a lot of storylines this weekend. There's multiple series in NASCAR. There's the Cup Series, which is, the elite. And then you have the Xfinity Series, which is right below that, which is where the up-and-coming drivers that are about ready to take that next step into Cup. And then there's the Truck Series. And sometimes people just go from straight to Truck to Cup if they're that good. But mostly it goes from Truck to Xfinity Series. And then right below the Truck Series is a thing called ARCA. And there's ARCA East and ARCA West, and there's people that run the full schedules. And the cool thing about ARCA this weekend was, remember Malcolm in the Middle? Frankie Muniz, who has done some really cool stuff in motor racing over the past 10, 15 years. He's going to be racing full-time in the ARCA series. And so he got a chance to race in Daytona on Sunday in the ARCA series. And it was really, really cool. Frankie Muniz, if I'm correct, finished 11th. He did really good. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter where. If you're racing at Daytona, that place is a super speedway. It's hard. It doesn't matter what series you're racing on. I watched the entire ARCA series. Last year, there was some really good racers in it that moved their way up into the next series, Xfinity Series too. So it's really good stuff. But shout out to Frankie Muniz, finishing 11th at Daytona in his very first full-time ride. That's a big deal. That says a lot. So shout out to Frankie Muniz. The Craftsman Truck Series was also this weekend. A lot of racers that raced in the Cup and in the Xfinity Series. It was rain shortened, but the former guy, Zane Smith, who's run a lot of trucks over the years, he ended up winning a rain shortened race in Daytona on Friday night. It was a pretty good race. You got to kind of see, okay, this is how this weekend's going to go. There's going to be some big wrecks. And then in the Xfinity Series, it was crazy, especially in the last lap. There was lots of huge wrecks. It's so weird when you're at these super speedways. For those of you who watch racing, some people watch it for the wrecks, some people watch it for whatever reason. Left turn. The joke is, I watch it because I'm just big fan, period. But when you get into these super speedways, you realize when you start getting down to the final laps, people start getting out of line and start trying to make their move to the front. And it gets crazy because they're going they're going essentially as fast as they can. These cars will allow them to go. And it got a little hairy in the last lap. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s nephew, Jeffrey Earnhardt, is racing in the Xfinity Series. And in the Xfinity Series at the end, there's a guy by the name of Parker Kligerman who does Fox Sports. He's a sideline reporter, pit reporter, but he races too. Clip took Jeffrey out. No reason to do it. I could not believe it. And after the race, there was a big scuffle between the two. Not a big scuffle. There was definitely a very loud discussion between the two. But Parker Kligerman had no reason to knock out Jeffrey Earnhardt. And from what I've heard, Parker's been getting like death threats over the weekend on social media look, Earnhardt has such a big name in the racing community. No reason for it. None. So I didn't like Parker's move, but the man should be getting death threats. But it was insane what was going on and happening to him this weekend. But look, Earnhardt's a big name, and he shouldn't have. There was no reason to wreck him there. But it was a great race at Junior Motorsports. Dale Earnhardt Jr. owns 4 cars in that series. They were 1, 2, 3, and 4 with less than 20 laps to go, and only one of them finished in the top 5, and that was Justin Allgaier finishing in 3rd place because there were so many wrecks at the end, and they all happened up front. And Junior Motorsports kind of took themselves out trying to make moves instead of waiting till the last lap to deal with each other. And so it's absolutely insane. So it's insane. And then obviously the Daytona 500 has just as much noise. A lot of wrecks in that. Kyle Busch got knocked out. A lot of wrecks happened. Bubba Wallace was leading the Daytona 500, gets bumped from 2 cars behind from his own owner, Denny Hamlin, knocking into his teammate, another Toyota, and ends up wrecking. And his wheel got messed up, and he was back and forth. He was 2 laps down at one point, ends up getting into the top 10 on the next to last lap. And when it was all said and done, he ended up wrecking on turn 4 going into the checkered flag. Trucker said Bubba choked again. Look, that was bad luck, man. Bad luck. And at the end of these super speedway races, there's nothing but bad luck there. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. ended up winning the Daytona 500. It's a really cool story because Ricky Stenhouse is a one-man team. He's not the owner of his team's not a multi-millionaire. Look, they make a lot of money, but they're a one-team racing team. And so shout out to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting the win. Good for him. It wasn't one of the Richard Childress guys who I did not want to win. And it was a good weekend overall for NASCAR. I loved it. Loved it all. I know a lot of you don't like NASCAR, but I'm a huge NASCAR fan, and I'll be talking a little bit of NASCAR here and there in the coming weeks just because I love it, man. It's good stuff. So shout out to NASCAR. Great weekend. Daytona was a lot of fun, but they head to the West Coast and going to Fontana this weekend. Road course. So Joey Logano did get robbed, but I don't like Joey either. So I'm not a big fan of Joey Logano amicus at all. Anyways, all right, let's go. NBA this weekend. All-Star weekend was absolutely insane. They were in Salt Lake City, Utah, home of the Utah Jazz. Was very interesting because Shaq said in an interview today or last night, he said that this is a quote from him, that he ate a lot of room service. There was nothing to do in Salt Lake City. I understand the need to rotate the All-Star game in different cities, but I think they also need to be, considerate. Some teams just are not set up. They're good at having a team there, but maybe they're not the best weekend host for an All-Star weekend event. So I thought it was funny. Salt Lake City has hosted an Olympics before. I don't know. At the end of the day, Shaq said it was boring. There was nothing to do there. Thought that was funny. 3-point Saturday night All-Star event. You had the skills competition, 3-point competition, slam dunk competition. Look, NBA, just like any, we talked about the Pro Bowl and different things. It was insane, right? Like the 3-point competition is one of my favorites, and I'm happy for who won. But at the end of the day, there was no ringers in the event, and I was like, man, this is such a different long way off from back in the day when obviously Larry Bird, but a lot of the other big time 3-point shooters were always in the 3-point competition. And I think they had 2 in the top 10 of 3-point percentage this year. So got to do something to improve that. And then obviously the slam dunk competition. I had no hope for it. I was like, I'll watch first few dunks. If nothing happens, okay. And then there's this kid. Came out of the G League. He's a G League All-Star. Didn't say NBA All-Star, NBA G League All-Star. That's where they had to go to find somebody to be able to put on a show for these people at the slam dunk competition. And boy, did he. Mac McClung. That kid can dunk. Best slam dunk dunks I have seen easily in the last 10 years. He was excellent. It was awesome to watch. He made it exciting again. And I appreciate and I applaud the NBA for trying to do. In the past, there's no way a G League player would have gotten a chance. But Mac McClung, for YouTubers out there, and we're on YouTube, obviously, he's a huge YouTuber who, and I say YouTuber, he's got a lot of dunks on YouTube from high school. He's from the Virginia Beach area, from where I'm from. A lot of cool stuff, man. Look, it was a lot of good stuff. Mac McClung killed it. It was awesome, man. Double back to the rim and yammed it. Cap for Life said, no doubt. Best dunk I've seen. Now, let's talk about the judges real quick. Lisa Leslie and Karl Malone were the biggest haters I saw on Saturday night. Biggest haters, okay? Mac McClung should have gotten 50s all the way around on every dunk. And I think there was one dunk where he got like a 49.2 because of Lisa Leslie. And then there were some other good dunks from some of the other dunkers, and they were being very critical of that. And so I just wanted to say Lisa Leslie and Karl Malone were big haters on Saturday night in the dunk contest while judging. Just want to throw that out there. It was good. I enjoyed that. And I had high hopes for the All-Star game on Sunday. The All-Star game itself, and let me just tell you, so what they decided to do this year is Giannis Antetokounmpo and LeBron James were team captains for the respective sides and got to pick them like playground style right before the game, which is pretty cool. And I thought that was interesting from the standpoint of I thought that was really cool from the standpoint. I'm sorry, I'm getting a text. Nando's coming on here in a minute. We're going to talk Dolphins football here in a little bit. I thought it was really cool from that standpoint, but the moment the game started happening, man, it was rough. It was rough. LeBron ended up hurting his hand or something, his finger, ended up leaving at halftime, didn't play anymore. And there was no defense. And I don't know what they need to do for the NBA All-Star game to make it more competitive. I'm starting to think, maybe 3-on-3 and just pick teams and do, up to 11, and do process it, like do a bracket style. Like, I don't know what they need to do to make it better. But let me tell you, what I watched on Sunday night, I turned off in the second quarter. I was really excited for the first few dunks because I love LeBron dunking, but man, wanted nothing to do with it. It was, I turned it off. And LeBron's team lost, so which made it even more. And Ja Morant ended up not playing on LeBron's team, so I didn't want to watch anyway. So one of my other favorite players, Ja Morant, ended up playing for the team I didn't want to win. And they ended up winning. They killed LeBron's team. But I don't know. I don't know who. I was on Twitter on Sunday night. Major League Baseball might have the best All-Star game as far as competition is concerned, because you can't really fake a baseball game. Your pitchers have to pitch and your hitters have to hit. Like every other All-Star game, you can kind of lay it in. Hockey, you can kind of lay it in. Football definitely did. That's why they went to the flag football that they did this year. And then, from the other standpoint of basketball, what I've been seeing the last few, basketball All-Star game used to be very competitive. Those boys used to compete back in the day, but I don't know what they need to do to make it better. But what I saw on Sunday night wasn't the answer, and it wasn't it. But I did enjoy the pick'em, the playground pick'em. That was fun. All right. The other thing, just staying in the basketball real quick. Big news for the Miami Heat. We are a Miami podcast. Kevin Love signing with the Miami Heat after the buyout from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Was super excited. He cleared waivers. He's a 5-time All-Star, 15-year NBA veteran. He cleared waivers on Monday and then signed a contract with the Miami Heat for the remainder of the season. The now forward, it's going to be awesome, man. I'm super excited. He's going to make his debut. Could make it this Friday night at Milwaukee for the Heat. Do I think that it's going to make a big difference in the East? The East is, I don't want to say it's weak, but Patrick Beverley, who got bought out after his trade from the Miami Heat, or from the LA Lakers, excuse me. I think he went to Milwaukee or somebody and got a buyout from them, or Utah maybe. Ended up getting a buyout and said that it was down between Golden State and Chicago Bulls. And quote, Patrick Beverley said, "I'm signing with the Chicago Bulls because the East is weak." Which, by the way, I thought was a weak thing to say, but he did. And so, is Kevin Love going to make that huge difference for the Heat? The Heat made no trades at the trade deadline, was very disappointed on that. But I think that Kevin Love signing with the Heat will make a difference. We were talking in the Miami Sports Music chat group of the people that run it. We were like, man, it'll be interesting to see, because we were talking about, Kyle Lowry, Victor Oladipo, stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, I think it'll be big. And then they signed Cody Zeller, a 9-year veteran. These guys, Cody's not going to get a lot of playing time, but when he does, it's going to be it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a nice little team to do it with. So I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed it to see Kevin Love and Cody Zeller signing, and we'll definitely have to see what happens there. So I don't know where they go from the East standpoint. Is it enough to put them over Boston? Maybe it's enough to put them over Boston. But the East, no matter what, is a lot weaker than the West. So the Kevin Love signing is going to make a difference for the Heat in the East. 100%. It will definitely happen. All right. Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. We talked about Daytona 500. We talked about NBA All-Star Weekend. We talked about the Miami Heat signing Kevin Love. Let me bring in my brother from another mother who's going to help me out a little bit this morning. My man, I don't know how long he's going to stay on, but he's here. He wanted to come up and say hello. My brother, TD. What's up, TD? TD, you there? Hello? TD?
Hello.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, man. How you feeling?
I am feeling good, man. Enjoyed a nice 4-day weekend with the fam. And, it's Hot Take Tuesday.
Hot Take Tuesday, huh?
What's up, baby? How are you? What are you doing? What'd you do? You got your family's growing, and I see you out here coaching. You got those little mini Dolphins in the flag football. I saw you.
A little spring football, getting the little ones ready for the tackle season.
What's that like, man? How old are they? How old are you? What age group are you coaching?
Well, I'm doing the 4, 5, and 6-year-olds.
Oh man, that's got to be fun, man. That's got to be so much fun coaching them.
Yeah, I follow my boys. I'm gonna follow them all the way up.
They gonna get some real good coaching from you, TD, right?
Oh, they're getting the best, baby. They're getting the best. We already undefeated. 14-0.
Oh, that's what you guys want. You guys won 14-0 this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we could have beat them like 40-0, but
you didn't want to beat those 4-year-olds too bad. You didn't want Child Protective Services to come over there for how bad of a beating you were going to put on them.
No, well, I make sure that I get my 4-year-olds involved, though. The 5 and 6 carry the team, and the 4-year-olds, I try to put them in situations where they can score, make their parents proud and stuff. So,
man, that's so cool, man. I love that. It's all about family. I try to tell people that all the time. I ain't got time for nothing else except my morning show and family, and I try to support the other people when I can. So what's up, man? What do you want to talk about? Did you want to talk a little Heat? Did you like the Kevin Love signing?
I mean, it's the Miami Heat. It ain't gonna matter. Unfortunately, so at the end of the day, I always told you they need a 1A and a 1B, and all they have is a 1B, and that's in Jimmy Butler.
Look, I have to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not saying that you're not wrong. When they didn't make a trade at the trade deadline, I was really upset with Pat Riley, and I was like, how do you not make a trade with all the talent that's out there, or be aggressive? Like from what I heard, they made some offers, but they weren't aggressive. They weren't aggressive enough to go after Kyrie, or KD.
You know what would have helped the Heat and really done them some good justice? I mean, it ain't a game breaker, but it gives you a lot more confidence in the playoffs. I thought that you guys would get Kevin Love and Russell Westbrook off the bench.
Dude, I thought Russell was 100% coming down here, and from what I heard, there wasn't even a conversation between Russell Westbrook and the Heat. So, again, I don't know what Pat Riley's doing.
I heard the Heat are offering a buyout deal. Like, once he gets bought out, offering him a deal.
If I'm correct, Russell is going to the Clippers. He's signing with the Clippers.
Yeah, that's the presumed place where he'll go. I just thought that was an opportunity for the Heat to
100%. I agreed. If Russell Westbrook had went to the Heat, I think it would have been just enough for them to take them over the edge against, as far as depth about playing Boston in a 7-game series. Because here's the reality. Miami didn't do anything and still went, and their team is pretty much the same as it was last year, and the same thing for the Celtics, and they still won 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. So the Heat just needed to change a couple of things, but
see, that's what I'm talking about. Somebody in the comment section, you count out Bam, shaking my head. No, I'm shaking my head. Stop that mess.
Bam doesn't show up in the playoffs. Bam has never showed up in the playoffs.
Bam is a certified B player. Stop that mess.
Bam has.
Bam is the great value version of Giannis. Not even. Stop calling you count out Bam.
He's an all-star. I love Bam. He wears my favorite number. But
he ain't no number one.
He's not a number one. And he has yet to show me that he shows up when it counts in the playoffs. There have been moments where I'm like, Bam, if you just scored 15 to 25 points tonight, they're going to win. And he'll score 11. He'll score 13.
Let me give you a heads up real quick.
And he'll play 40 minutes.
Let me give you a quick heads up. If I cut out for any reason, I will be back because I'm on my cell phone. And if I get a phone call, it cuts out temporarily. Yeah, I will be back. Well,
my boy Nando's supposed to be coming on with me this morning too, so hopefully you and Nando can hang out with me, man.
I think I got about 40 minutes, bro. I'm kind of on vacation this month, bro. My wife is forcing me to not stream. She, according to her, I went extra hard this football season, and I broke records and done so well that I just need to take 2 to 3 weeks off, just go live with breaking news. And I'm like, okay, babe. I mean, because I was finna go live this morning, and then she started fussing again. So I was like, all right, I'm going fishing.
Steven doesn't want me on his show. I'd never ask you to come on my show. Let me just text Steven and tell him I want to come on.
No, well, yeah, I'm on my way fishing. I'm like, no, because that's another thing. I've been getting your text messages in the morning, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, but when I see them, it's either too late or I'm busy. So I forget to respond. So I said, oh, this is a perfect opportunity. Let me see if I can get on the show.
The only reason I'm not offended is because you have 100 children, and I know how busy you can get, and so I'm not offended by it.
Yeah, I was up to 3 in the morning helping my son with his seahorses. That's what you call them things. Yeah, seahorse project. You know, he 4 years old, and everybody had a animal from the ocean or whatever, and he has seahorses. So, and he just gonna tell me last night in his bag, oh, my teacher told me give this to you, and I read it, and it was all the way from Thursday. So we had to do a seahorse project in about 8 hours from like 6 at night all the way to 2 in the morning. Then we had to clean up all the glitter and all that crazy stuff. But yeah, these kids, man.
Dude, kid, they'll definitely do that to you. I got one more week of basketball practice, and then basketball season's over for me. So I'm looking forward to it. All right, hey, let me bring in the other co-host to our beautiful Hot Take Tuesday. My brother from another mother, ladies and gentlemen, Nando Talk.
What is up, Nando? Mr. Steven, Mr. TD, always a pleasure, always an honor, gentlemen. How's it going?
What's going on, man? How was your weekend?
Going a little good, man. I think I'm coming down with a little something, but besides that, I think I'm fine, man.
You're like, I'm here. I'm ready.
I'm here. I'm alive. I'm good to go. And it's
Let's
been
go.
a while, Steven. Missed you, buddy.
I missed you too, man. You've been out here, you know, you've been busy.
Got a lot of brothers from another mother.
Oh, I know I do, man. Look, I love everybody, man. I don't hate on anybody. And even people that I do, you know, don't have.
You got a lot of brothers from another mother. Be out of here.
You kind of opened my eyes to that, TD. I get what you're saying, man. You know, Steven, you're a very friendly dude, huh?
I'm a friendly guy, man. What can I say? Spread love, kindness, and positivity. You're breaking up, TD. Get with it. Get in a better cell area.
You good?
Get off that Tua plan, and you stop dropping. No, he didn't hear that. All right. Anyways, all right, man. Let's get into it, man. So big news coming out of Miami this weekend. The Miami Dolphins stealing away a defensive coordinator, Ronaldo Hill, former Miami Dolphin, and taking him away from the LA Chargers, where he was the defensive coordinator for the last 2 years, and basically saying, hey, come over here to us, take a demotion, but we got something big brewing over here in South Beach, and we want you to come hang out with us. So he took a demotion and is now the passing game coordinator / defensive backs coach. I mean, I'll let any one of you two start. That's crazy, right? Stealing a defensive coordinator from another team to take a demotion. Have you ever heard of that? TD, you there?
Yeah, I'm here now. Testing.
What?
Hello,
yeah, man, we're talking. Yep, we're here.
My bad. I got that phone call. I told you.
We're talking Ronaldo Hill leaving the Chargers, taking the demotion to come to Miami to become the passing game coordinator and defensive back coach after being a defensive coordinator for the last 2 years with the Chargers, man. I want to get your thoughts on Ronaldo Hill taking a demotion to come coach with Fangio.
Well, that's Fangio's boy. It's coming from the coaching tree. Basically, the Chargers hired him as the DC because he's coming from that Fangio tree. And I told everybody how everybody did in that tree this year. It just wasn't that good. But he's coming back to his guy, and this might be an opportunity for him to, have the job long term at some point.
That's what I'm saying. It was funny. So we were talking about Sean Desai before that we officially had Vic Fangio, and I thought, and there still is a possibility, by the way, that Desai can come over too. That's not out of the woods yet, but I was like, if they're going to bring in a big name, Fangio's going to groom somebody. But there were a few things that were said in the press conference, which we will play later on this morning. And we'll go through step by step, Nando and I, later on this morning. But some of the things like Fangio saying, I'm going to be here for 10 years. I would love to be here for the next 10 years. Well, that kind of takes away if he's going to groom somebody to take his place, because it just a lot. There were a lot of things yesterday where I was like, "Wow, really? We stole a defensive coordinator? Well, they must be grooming him to replace Fangio." But then Fangio, in the same breath and in the same sentence, is saying, "No, I want to be here for the next 10 years."
Well, he didn't say he want to be. Well, no, I think you're reading it wrong. Fangio said, "If they have me, I'll be here for 10 years." But I look at a bigger power move here potentially. Okay.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question. I'm not saying that this is gonna happen, but look at it this way. What do you think would happen if the Dolphins started 0-8?
This year or last year?
This year.
If they start out 0-8, they'll be. I mean, it'll be utter chaos in the community. Utter chaos. Utter chaos.
So, yeah, but the team. What if the team started out 0-8? What do you think? Chris Greer, Stephen Ross will make some immediate moves.
I would hope so.
I mean, are you reaching at that McDaniel gets let go and Fangio becomes the head coach? Is that what you're getting at? Is that what you're getting at?
Well, here's what I'm getting at. Not now. I'm just giving you the example so that you think about the fact that Fangio and even his guys are very calculated. First of all, his guy came over to Miami because this is the system he likes to run, particularly under Fangio. But here's what you have to understand. I mean, I know he ran it in Denver, but this is the orchestrator of it with Fangio, and he does his best with Fangio. But you got to look at it like this. What happens in 2 years when we don't have as much talent and we're kind of building again, or 3 years from now? Nobody talks about that. How good of a coach is Mike McDaniel? This could be a long-term investment for Fangio and the people that he brings in. In any sense of, as long as the defense doesn't fail, but any sense of us not, being a great team, this ain't nothing but good for Fangio and his staff. So at the end of the day, he want to make Miami Dolphins a Super Bowl contender so he can get back into that head coaching carousel and get a job somewhere in the NFL. But this is the most appealing job to do that, because if like say Tua isn't the guy, if eventually a year or two from now we realize he isn't the guy, there's a great chance that you're gonna have a year or two of the Dolphins being right back where we've always been, trying to figure out what our next move is. And during that step, there'll be another coach. Now, we all hope that, hey, Mike McDaniel ends up being the GOAT, one of the great young coaches, and he has 10, 20-year career. But people don't like to think of the simple fact that even the coaching position is so fragile. I mean, the turnover for coaches is just as great as quarterbacks in some sense.
That much I agree with you with. Yeah.
Yeah, that part. We're up to there.
A lot of guys make calculated risks when it comes to that. I mean, think about it. Fangio could have easily have gone back to Denver if he wanted to be a DC, and they were open to it. They said it was no bad mojo. Fangio could have went several places if he wanted to be a DC, right? But defensive coordinators, they have to calculate what's going to be the best move that'll elevate their career next. He can take, hey, if we win and we do well, I'm back in good graces for a head coaching job. If we don't do well and this team plummets, then they may elevate me because I have the experience, as long as my defense is doing well. So that's what coaches do. And he said it in his press conference. We got some good players, and the lure of South Florida itself, and all of that. He didn't know McDaniel.
All right, let me ask you a question, TD, because let me hear your theory out in full. Is your theory that a backdoor conversation happened between Greer and maybe Ross and Fangio outside of McDaniel? Saying,
not at all. At all. That's a conspiracy theory. I'm telling you, the mind of any coach in the NFL, every move you make has to be strategic. Look at Brian Flores in the move he made.
To go to Minnesota?
Yeah, he said, listen, Brian Flores quoted to the media. He said the reason why he chose Minnesota, because he said he actually had two choices. I don't know what the other one was, whether it was Arizona or another DC job. He said he had two choices, and he said at the end of the day, you can either lead or you can have growth, but you can't have both. So you got to choose. And he said
that sounds like
chose,
a head coach. That sounds like a coach who doesn't know what winning is. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's an actual good statement, Steven. You can either
You can definitely do both.
No. I'm sorry, he didn't say lead.
You can't have both.
He said you could either have control or you can have growth, but you cannot have both.
That's hearing that statement to me that's stupid.
That's a little more valid.
And he chose, and he said to himself that he chose growth instead. Think about it. You go to Arizona, which is a SHITTY job with Kyler Murray, who has a look at Kyler Murray with his new coach when he first saw him. The DAP looked so ungenuine, and Kyler was like, hey, all right, whatever, almost. That job is not an appealing job. Kyler's in his own world. Kyler wants to do what he wants to do. And Kyler is a young kid trying to be the big dog like I run this, trying to have that Tom Brady status, in which Tom Brady never had until he was in Tampa Bay. But Flores made a calculated decision. Think about it. You either take the Arizona job, which can end your head coaching chances for good if you fail, or you can go to Minnesota, have a top 10 defense, and then you'll be the hottest coach on the market for head coach next year or the year after.
All right,
all coordinators make calculated decisions. Bro.
All right, so let's
all coordinators want to forget about
say that, Nando.
All coordinators want a head coaching job. They all calculated for sure. Like that's why Fangio's coming for sure. But like I don't know if he's coming from McDaniel's job.
Look at Eric Bieniemy. He knew.
All right, Eric Bieniemy going to Washington honestly makes no sense to me. The only thing that makes sense is he is doing is trying to force his way into showing the rest of the NFL that I don't need to be under the protection of Andy Reid, and I don't need to have Patrick Mahomes as my quarterback to prove that I'm a good coordinator.
That's the sense that it makes. It makes all the sense because he showed you, he's the perfect example of you can't just keep winning and be a good coordinator to get promoted. You got to take away all the stigmas, so you got to be calculated.
He's won two Super Bowls. He's won 2 Super Bowls as offensive coordinators, and that still wasn't enough for him to be a coaching candidate in the NFL.
Because
he wasn't as much. So I get that.
Because he wasn't calculated. Now he's being calculated.
And so Ronaldo Hill looked at the defensive coordinator position that he was in with the Chargers and said it makes more sense for me for my career to move forward by taking a step back, but going to somewhere where I'm going to have an opportunity to grow or have an opportunity to get a better job in the future.
And sometimes it's just building more relationships. So now Ronaldo has relationships in Denver. He has relationships in
LA
with the Chargers. He has relationships now. He's gonna build in Miami. He has relationships with the Bears. So now you're expanding your relationships as well.
Okay.
And then you get to say that I've been under the tutelage of Fangio for a very long time him because he wants to be a head coach.
But to say, all right. And maybe I'm interpreting what you're saying incorrectly, but what I hear you saying, TD, as I've learned and therapy sessions when I'm talking to somebody, what I hear you saying, TD, is that you are telling me that Fangio took this job and in the back of his mind, he's like, well, if Daniel don't work out, I'm going to take over and be the head coach here. And that's a majority of the reason why he took Miami over Denver.
No, I'm not saying that's the sole reason, but that's one, bro. It could be.
I don't think that is. I'm gonna look. Maybe I'm naive. Y'all can tell me I'm naive. A coach is not taking a job with the intention of that something is going to fail. That to me, that does not happen.
You're not. I never said that. You're not taking the job that things will fail. But which job do you have a better chance of becoming the interim head coach of, Miami or Denver?
He does not care about being a head coach. If that was the case, he would have took a head coach job somewhere else or said, I want to be a head coach. I don't want to be a coordinator somewhere.
Fangio can't be a head coach. Nobody's hiring Fangio as no head coach, bro.
Okay,
you talk about he could have took a job anywhere else. Nobody wants Fangio as a head coach.
Your question to me, TD, was just what are the odds more likely? Him being an interim head coach in Miami or in Denver? Look at what's happened with Denver the last few years.
Who's the new coach in Denver? Who's the new coach in Denver?
Sean Payton.
Sean Payton will have a leash as long as you think. I mean, it's Sean Payton, Steven. It's Sean Payton. He can fail for 3 seasons and say that it's the personnel.
But let me tell you, he did not. There is no way, shape, or form. You call me naive, you call me a homer, whatever adjective you'd like to call me. There is no way that he took a job with the intention of, in the back of his mind, well, if McDaniel don't work out, I'm gonna become the head coach. No, he took the job here. He took the job here.
Why do you keep going to that point? I keep saying no.
That's the point that you're bringing up, TD.
No, if you listen, you'll hear. It's
all right,
not
I'm
that
listening.
it's not that that's the sole point. It's Steven. It's no different from you taking a defensive coordinator job in Miami, right?
Okay.
In your mind, you'll be like, okay, should I go to Miami or should I go to Denver? Say Miami and Denver has the same best players. Well, you know, both of them got great players. I like the warm weather in Miami. I like the city. I'm leaning towards Miami, but the goal for me is to get promoted. I don't see myself getting promoted in Denver, but can I make a staple to get promoted in Denver quicker? Oh, I don't see. Well, I could see myself having a chance to get promoted in Miami one day, but you're going through all the options.
No, I disagree with you. Fangio,
kind of agree, man.
Fangio took the job, and I'll let Nando go after me. Fangio took the job because he wants to win a Super Bowl in Miami, and he sees the opportunity to do it there.
No, he hopes to win a Super Bowl. He take the job because
Why can't it be both,
Miami is the best chance to win a Super Bowl.
Why can't it be both? Because in my
why can't he want to win a Super Bowl and that leads him to be a head coach? You know what I'm saying? Like, why can't being well in Miami be the reason he chose to come here is I want to be a head coach, but I'm
not hating on
be very
Fangio
good at my job, and then I'll be a head coach. It doesn't necessarily mean McDaniel's going to fail.
And it's not even just Fangio. I don't think anybody takes a job and in the back of their mind they're saying, well, there's a second great thing about if I take this job, that if it doesn't work out, I could eventually be the head coach here because the head coach is going to take the fall here. Nobody's planning for that. Nobody's taking a job.
Steven,
I can see the Dolphins go.
Steven, you don't plan for it, but gosh, be a little cynical. Act like it don't.
I'm not. I refuse to look at it like that because
you don't have to, but there are humans that do.
I could see the Dolphins seeing it that way a little bit, saying like, "Yo, let's plan for all eventualities."
Even
got his tinfoil hat on because even he doesn't believe it.
You made him the highest paid coordinator. If things fail, you can elevate him.
He did. So you're all right. Couple things.
I think that'd be like a nuclear option. Like that'd be a world where like it turns out McDaniel's actually a fraud. But like, I don't think that's gonna happen.
I don't think that ever calculated into his mind, and if that, I don't see it. I'm sorry.
Steven,
are the Dolphins that smart to think that ahead?
Steven, this is what a defensive coordinator.
Thank you, Nando. You're asking the Dolphins to be that smart about something.
They don't have to be. This is about Fangio and what's in his mind. If you're a defensive coordinator, you're weighing your pros and your cons. You're saying if I go to Miami and I succeed, that can elevate me into getting a head coaching job somewhere else in the league. If I go to Miami and and this team fails, as long as I produce on this defense, I could still either get moved up or go somewhere else and be a head coach potentially. You weigh all of that when you're accepting a job, when you're a highly sought after defensive coordinator.
All right, let's pause this. Do me a favor. What was the conversation between Fangio and Ronaldo Hill? How did he get him to leave a better position to come here to Miami? Explain that one to me first. TD. See, somebody called TD. He over here talking this foolishness, Nando. Over here talking this foolishness.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
It's simple, bro. Come over here to Miami. I got more money for you. I need you to help me implement my system. Let's get the gang back together.
Fangio, I'm a defensive coordinator here in the Chargers with a quarterback.
I got more money for you. I
with
got more money
a Super Bowl run.
I got more money for you. We're going to try to make a
Super Bowl run here out here in LA with Herbert as our quarterback.
Let me ask you a question. Look at the Chargers with JC. They got money on the books with the JC Jackson situation and all of that. Who's expected to have a better defense, the Chargers or the Dolphins this year?
Dolphins, I think.
I believe the Dolphins.
Fangio there. With Fangio, definitely, I'd say the Dolphins.
So at the end of the day, even Ronaldo has to think about his future. If that Chargers defense takes a step backwards this year, he done set himself back.
But and I'm not saying you, but a good portion of the community, of the community told me that nobody takes a step back. They'll only take positions to move up. Nobody takes a step back.
But sometimes that's not true. That's not true. Sometimes you got to take a step back to move 2 steps forward. He already has the DC experience. That's a good move. Next for him, now watch this. Next for him is defensive coordinator, assistant coach. See, there's other roles that nobody talk about. The next move for him will be defensive coordinator, assistant coach, and that can happen somewhere else.
That could happen somewhere else. I'll give you that. I will give you that.
That gives him the gateway. Like say you got a team, right? And say we get a number 5 overall defense this year.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, Ronaldo may apply for some head coaching jobs. He is a great chance he won't get it, but then he might go somewhere where his title changes to defensive coordinator, assistant coach.
So then he took 1 year to take a step back to only get a promotion and a raise again, even somewhere else.
Because guess what? If I'm him, okay, look, now I have the defensive coordinator experience. Now I need to be a part of a top 5, top 10 defense so that when I try to go be a DC, an assistant coach or a head coach.
I just want to throw that out there. TD said he potentially top 5, top 10 defense in the NFL next year.
That's the goal. That's what they're all visioning, because if they succeed,
let me just throw that out there. If we have a top 5, top 10 defense, we are not starting out 0-8. I just want to throw that out there. That's never going to happen.
If we have a top 5 defense, no, that ain't going to happen, of course. But again, that makes Fangio look great. That gives Fangio good graces in potentially being a head coach again somewhere else.
So
I agree with that. I think that's why
so time out. But okay, let's play this out. If Fangio's next goal is, I want to be a head coach somewhere, but nobody will give me a shot right now, so let me go be a defensive coordinator where I live anyway in Florida, where my mother is and where everything is, with a potential Super Bowl run in the works over the next 2 years, right?
Yeah, okay.
Right? But let me bring in somebody that when I leave, is the question is that when I leave, Ronaldo Hill can become the defensive coordinator here, or is it, let me bring in the coaching staff that I want on defense so that when I go, I already know who my defensive coordinator is going to be, and it's going to leave Miami in the lurch.
Oh, you see that, Steven? You just gave 3 options, right?
Yep.
That's all I was trying to say to you earlier. In these coaches' head, they're weighing every scenario. They're weighing every scenario, bro.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't think that a coach plays in takes into account the future in his head when making a decision. But what I do have a problem with is I don't think that
everybody thinks about the future when making a present decision. What are you talking about?
I hear you, but what I think is I don't know if hypocritical is the right word, or I don't know the correct adjective to use, but what I don't think is the case is that Fangio or any coordinator in their mind goes somewhere with the intention of, if this does not work out the way we hope it does, that I could potentially be the head coach here.
In his mind, if this doesn't work out from a team standpoint, he knows that at a minimum he still has to deliver. He still has to have a great defense.
So this hasn't been reported yet, but it is likely that Fangio gets paid more than McDaniel. It is likely.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
Of course he does.
I think he does.
I mean,
It's not been recorded or
listen,
confirmed.
here's the scary part, and people want to act like people want to ignore this and act like it's all good. This is my issue with Mike McDaniel, and the crazy thing is, I actually like Mike McDaniel. I just wish he was a well-rounded coach, and he's not. He is a offensive guy, period. And here's the issue that I have: the reports were he didn't even go look at the defense. He let Boyer do his own thing. That's why even on the sideline, man, you need to fix that whenever they were offsides all those times. Bro, he doesn't even go on the defensive side of the ball. That's why you have to get a Fangio and make him the highest paid, so that because Mike McDaniel's still not going to go on the defensive side of the ball. Now, you have two coaches on this team. You might as well say head coach 1 and head coach 2. Fangio is strictly defense. McDaniel is strictly offense. He doesn't run anything on that defense. And a matter of fact, if you notice in the press conference, Fangio said, well, if there's certain players, I'll communicate that with Greer and extra. He ain't say I'll communicate that with McDaniel. Y'all got to pay attention to these people's words. We got 2 head coaches right now. And
I think the day we signed Fangio, we all kind of said there's probably 2 head coaches on this team. There's a
but McDaniel is responsible for the offense, and Fangio is responsible for the defense, and McDaniel just has to take all the ownership with special teams and offense and the press conferences. It's that simple, bro. And that's the thing. You can't even hold Fangio accountable. He's not going to be holding Fangio accountable to nothing.
Thomas Jensen says Greer's setting up his next chess move. Don't be naive, just like he wasn't quarterback shopping the last 2 years. Keep pulling that wool over your tinfoil eyes, gentlemen.
Hey, he might be right though.
Combine both, bro.
He might be right, but yeah, man, we got 2 head coaches right now with split the field, 1 offense, 1 defense. It's just one has the title.
Bon Joe says, TD, stop wasting your time when you come on Stephen D's show. You have to set your mind to naive. Just say the Dolphins can't do any wrong and be happy like Nando talk. Just smile and eat it, TD. Just smile and eat it.
On this show today, I haven't said anything we've done wrong. I haven't been negative about anything or nothing.
We're talking hypotheticals, man.
We're talking hypotheticals. I look, 2 things. Number one, I love the
hypotheticals. We're talking possibilities.
Okay, possibilities.
Possibilities.
Fine.
I like that
if you want to use.
Okay.
But here's what I do know.
Better connotation.
I love Fangio being here in South Beach. I love the fact that it's so good that I cannot remember in recent years. I'm not saying it's never happened. I know it has, but I cannot remember in recent years where a defensive coordinator said, peace, I'm going to take a job that's not a head coaching job and not even a defensive coordinator job to go to a team that I believe has got a legit shot at being legit this year. And that excites me. We took Ronaldo Hill. I could care less that it's Ronaldo. I'm glad it's a former Miami Dolphin, so be it. But we took a defensive coordinator and made him come to our team at a lesser title. That's crazy to me because of who we brought in. This would never happen if Fangio wasn't here.
It's not crazy to me. It's safer in Miami for him than it is in LA. You got to look at it. All the Dolphins had to do is say, come to Miami, we'll pay you the same amount.
Does this say, real quick, does this say a lot? Does it say a little bit of where he thinks the Chargers are going to end up next year, that he doesn't have a lot of faith in them? Is that a negative on them?
You never know. It could simply be, I don't like this head coach in the restrictions he give me.
Okay.
It could simply be that. It could also be the fact that they're only
former Miami Dolphin coming home.
They're only 1 year removed.
He only played 2 years there.
This guy was with Fangio everywhere, and then when Fangio got fired and that staff got fired, he got that job, but it doesn't mean he don't want to be right back with Fangio. He got that job because of what he did with Fangio.
All right, let me ask you a follow-up question here. So part of Ronaldo Hill's title is defensive backs coach and what was the other one?
Pass game coordinator.
What happens with Sam Madison?
Oh, he out of there.
You think Sam Madison's gone?
No, isn't Surtain gone?
Yeah,
Surtain is gone because he took the FSU job. And he said if it was any other job, he wouldn't have taken it. But he got a chance to go to FSU, and he was like, I think this is a great opportunity. I don't deny it. Like he wasn't even like the defensive backs coach here. He was the assistant backs coach, and he has a chance now at FSU to be.
See.
You're breaking up, TD. You're breaking up, TD.
I think he's trying to say it's.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yep, I can hear you.
What's his position at FSU?
Isn't it like secondary coach or defensive back coach?
Defensive back coach.
Defensive backs coach.
It's like what Sam Madison has here.
Now, this is a perfect example. This is what a lot of guys do too. This is what a lot of guys do too. He went backwards to move forward, Steven. It's not as easy as you think. Yes, you go backwards to move forward.
Backs coach at FSU. Think about the defensive backs that are come out of FSU, bro. Like that's a legit job. Like that's not a pushover job.
He needs a real coaching experience, man. He was a high school head coach before this, man. Like I love American Heritage.
Steven, if he has 2 to 3 years of success over there, then he comes back to the NFL as a defensive backs coach.
Or maybe even possibly a defensive coordinator somewhere else. That's possible too.
I think he would still have to put a little bit more work in the NFL and one of the position groups as the main guy before he can go there. But a lot of these guys, believe it or not, move down for a prominent college role and then move back up. He's just going to have to take the long route.
For the record, Surtain going to FSU, I don't consider a slap in the face to us. I think that's a big deal, the FSU defensive backs coach job. Like, I get it. I understand it. But Sam Madison,
he could have went to the U,
I don't see Sam Madison had success in Kansas City as the defensive backs coach there. And look at what happened with Cater Kahoo this year. I don't see Sam Madison leaving.
Actually, bro, real quick before you go down this, man, I don't think Surtain could have gone to the U because Chris Rump's their defensive backs coach, who's like he used to be his American head coach. American Heritage used to be on the same coaching staff, so I don't think he would take his former.
I was just taking a shot. I was just taking a shot because I don't like.
Yeah, I know the UMFC. I was thinking that too, but realistically, I just had that whole thing like Rumpf left to UM, and then Patrick Surtain becomes the head coach at Heritage.
Surtain didn't necessarily want to coach college kids, EM Baller. He said if it was any other job, he wouldn't have taken it. He would have stayed in Miami. He said it was FSU. He said it was FSU defensive backs coach. He couldn't say no.
We're going to keep a lot of the guys that's currently in-house. We'll probably add another 2 guys.
If Sam Madison stays, what happens to his title then? What does he become?
What do you mean?
Sam Madison, correct me if I'm wrong, was the defensive backs coach, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or was he considered the secondary coach? What was his exact title this year?
Well, if they keep him, it doesn't matter. They're going to just give him a name. It's all about giving you a name. I mean, it's not that serious. They just want coaches in the
He was the corners coach this year. That's what he was. Cornerbacks coach and pass game specialist. Well, now you have I'm just interested to see that dynamic with Ronaldo Hill and Sam Madison and how that relationship works. Will that stay the same? I'm just interested to see if there's any title change with Sam Madison there. All right, next question. If Ronaldo Hill was somebody that is coming here, a couple of the defensive coordinator candidates, Campanelli, Ronaldo Hill, and Chris, Richard from Dallas. Are any one of those 3 guys potentially coming here to Miami, TD? Do you think that they come here too? Any one of those 3?
I mean,
Campanelli's already here.
Potentially. I mean, at the end of the day, like they said, they were doing interviews and stuff. Potentially, I mean, the net is very wide right now when it comes to coordinators. It's not like head coach. It could be somebody you never heard of that's coming from the freaking Falcons or something. I mean, at the end of the day, it don't always have to be just the relationship, but the work that people are putting in. A lot of people trying to make the Ronaldo move about what they did to the Dolphins and all that. It has nothing to do with that. That's Fangio's guy. At the end of the day, man, I just like the Fangio move. Dolphin fans need to understand this. Don't be excited about the Fangio system. Be excited about Fangio coming, because on defense, he's going to try to figure it out. It's not his system per se. He even said it in his press conference. He actually preferred people to not run his system because the league is starting to figure it out. But he's also about figuring out what they figured out, So it's Fangio that you got to fall in love with, not his system. So when people walk around here, look at the system and what we're going to be doing. You don't know what he's going to be doing. He's going to go with whatever's best with the player. And this is the type of coach that I've always liked. You build a system around what your players do best. Don't try to put your players in. Of course, you're going to say, this is my system. Then you're going to see if they can run it. And then you're going to look at what they can do and what they can't do. And whatever they can't do, you will adjust your system to fit what they can do. And people think that, now over time, he'll replace players to get people to run his system the way he likes it.
That's what I was getting at. But
that's over time. That's over time. It's not going to happen this year.
So you're looking at Fangio implementing the type of defense that he wants here. We're going into.
He don't know. I don't think Fangio knows what defense he wants here yet. That's the point.
So what happens in free agency this offseason when Fangio likes a guy? He said in the press conference, I'll go to Chris Greer if I like somebody and want to bring somebody in. How does that work with the remaining amount of money? What happens this year if McDaniel wants somebody on offense and Fangio wants somebody on defense in free agency? Who gets the priority? Who gets the priority?
Fangio's going to get the priority. That's what you brought me here for. That's why you made me the highest paid. At the end of the day, I'm not coming here unless you give me what I need to make this work. It's all about the defense now. Now they will make some moves on the offense. They'll get a running back to make you think that we good. They're going to get one more lineman. They're going to make a few moves. They got to figure out a tight end potentially. So you're going to have additions on the offense, but it's going to be additions that's just filling holes. See, what y'all don't realize is Miami think that we're good enough on offense already if we just stay healthy.
Do you think that, TD?
Hell no. and that's where we're going to get – that's where we can falter.
Top 10.
We need to go get 2 real legit O-linemen, a real running back,
100%.
and a tight end. So, in all 4 of those. Now,
we need to get a better offensive line.
3 out of 4.
I'm not talking. See, but this is what Miami does to you. They'll go get a nice running back to make say they do get Cook, right? They'll go get a Cook,
Dalvin,
and then they'll go get 2 average linemen, and then go get an average tight end, and then the Dolphin fans, we ready now. That's what we do. And then whenever the rest of the league figure out, they've already figured it out.
Be excited for that, TD?
Listen, first of all, the league has already figured out what we were doing last year. So people don't want to acknowledge that at the end of the season, but I'm going to leave that alone. They're going to see this year. And then
time to adjust.
And those additions, average lineman ain't nothing but what we've been having. Average tight end is a downgrade. And just because you get Dalvin Cook, I am trying to tell y'all, the running backs we had last year, and you can beat me up for this all you want, they're not as good as Dalvin Cook, but I believe they are just as productive as a Dalvin Cook with his O-line.
I've been preaching for the last 2 weeks that if they improve the offensive line, that they don't need to go out and get somebody new in the running back. Let them re-sign who they need to.
Big bang for your money.
I've been preaching that for a couple of weeks now.
I would re-sign both of those guys and fix the O-line.
Upgrade the O-line and forget going to get somebody. If you go look at the last 10 Super Bowl primary running backs, all of them, every last one of them, there was only 3 of them that were over $1 million in contracts. All the 7 out of the 10 were $400,000, $800,000,
average or by committee.
Yep.
See, so the Dolphins, but they'll do that. They'll do a Dalvin Cook to get the whole fan base. Oh, he did it this offseason.
We don't need Dalvin Cook. We need a better offensive line. Now,
the
with
one
that being
area
said,
we
if the
wanted to
Dolphins
be
went out and got him, I'm not saying I wouldn't get excited about it. I would, but we don't need that to win a Super Bowl.
That little shoulder surgery, I don't like it, man. Especially with the money.
At the end of the day, the Dolphins.
Do you think the Dolphins upgrade the O-line in the offseason?
It has to be the priority.
Upgrading the O-line.
Now, TD, before you answer this, I know we should, and I know as fans we want to, but do you see Greer and McDaniel making that something as a priority? And by upgrading, I mean going out and getting an Orlando Brown Jr. or
here's where I don't want to be unfair to Mike McDaniel or Fangio. This is where I don't want to be unfair. If we do upgrade the O-line, then we can't afford to put nothing on the defense. See, this is the problem. People don't understand the money that we have now is paying Peter to robbing Peter to pay Paul or whatever. So yes. That's where we are about to be. This defense in our primary roles are aging or needing more money. So what do I mean by that? Aging. Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, Eric Rowe. Even though we have safeties to back them up, we're still going to have to replace Eric Rowe at some point. Money. That's all the way across the board with money. I mean, you got a lot of guys that's about to need their cash. And Christian Wilkins is the big dog up the middle. So,
by the way, how do you see that playing out with Christian this offseason?
I think they'll re-sign him on an extension. And it will be a lucrative one because it has to be.
Big signing bonus, right? Huge signing bonus.
Huge. I personally feel like we can't go wrong either way. I want Christian here because of what he's evolved to be.
You got to think Fangio, one of the reasons he chose to come here is having somebody like Christian Wilkins and Zach Seiler, right?
He likes that, but at the same token, I don't know. Fangio has to be calculated. Like me personally, what's the bigger gain here? Let me ask you. Would you take Christian Wilkins, right, and no upgrades, or would you like let me give you an example, because Christian Wilkins could be worth every bit of 18 to 20 something million, okay?
Yep, I agree.
And which would you do? Pay $18 million per year and do no upgrades? Or would you trade a Christian Wilkins for a first round pick, go get one of the best linebackers in the NFL for right now maybe $14 million, go get a young version of Christian Wilkins with that first round pick, and still maybe have a few million left over? So I don't know, man. It's tough, man. These are the decisions.
All right, let me give you TD, let me give you an example. If the Dolphins were to sign, let's say they extend it out and give them a signing bonus, right? Let's just play the scenario out, a 4-year extension, right? And I know that's a lot, but just take this scenario for example. If the Dolphins go to Christian Wilkins and say, hey, look, we want to give you a 4-year extension. We want to give you $25 million as a signing bonus up front. How that would work, okay, is that $25 million would be calculated by the extension of 4 years, which means against the salary cap, only $6 million of that, $6.25 million, would go against the salary cap for this year. And you make his salary something stupid like, I don't know, $3 or $4 million, and you say after 2 years, we will go ahead and we'll re-talk again at that point, and we'll see about making you the highest paid at that point.
Christian Wilkins ain't taking that kind of deal. That's robbing him.
I'm just saying,
massive money.
It's not about the signing
you
bonus.
give him a stupid signing bonus of guaranteed money up front. It doesn't hurt you for this year in the salary cap. You extend them out as long as you can.
Well, get your mind out of what the team will love. You got to go with what Wilkins would do. It's about the guaranteed money, Steve.
Why wouldn't Christian Wilkins take 25 to 30 million right now?
Christian Wilkins on the open market can get a 5-year, $100 million contract.
Okay, and we tell him, hey, we'll give you $25 million today. You sign on the dotted line today.
Here's the problem. He can also get $60 million guaranteed.
He had at least half guaranteed in free agency.
$60 million guaranteed. Former first-round pick. He can get a 5-year, $100 million, $60 million guaranteed.
Off a record-breaking season.
So if they structure his contract in the signing bonus, maybe 25, whatever, Steven. But if they structure it the way that you're talking, Steven, that means year 3, they might have a $40 million cap hit.
Salary cap's not real.
It is real. It is real. That's the point. That's the point. It's not real. You think it's not real because they can manipulate year 1 for $6 million, manipulate year 2 for $7 million. But at some point it catches up. Do you see Deshaun Watson is about to be up?
It eventually you have to pay up. I get it.
Exactly. Do you see Deshaun Watson is about to, for the next 3 years, is a $55 million cap hit?
Well, Cleveland's stupid, but that's neither here or there.
But remember, it ain't real. It is real. People say that.
I say it's not real when it comes to
the next
$20 million or below contracts, because you can rework them in your favor. It starts getting real when you start having. It starts getting real, TD, when you start having 2 or 3 players that are making over $30 to $40 to $50 million. And if you're giving Christian Wilkins $30 million, and you end up, and let's say Tua does end up being or whoever the quarterback is, not even Tua, whoever the quarterback ends up coming in, whether Tua stays or somebody else comes in, you're going to pay them $40 million plus.
Thank you, Steven. You're actually making my point. Now watch this. The Dolphins, the issue with the Dolphins is we have too many big contracts coming up. So you already got X making what he making, right?
I think he'll get renegotiated this offseason, my personal opinion.
No,
I think
he ain't getting renegotiated.
He's not going to just negotiate for fun.
Hey, let me tell you real quick. Let me just say this, TD, and then I'll let you cook. The Dolphins for the last 3 years and the last 3 off seasons, every time heard Xavier say, hey, I want to get renegotiated. I deserve to get paid. Okay, sit down. We'll renegotiate. We'll make you paid. Last 3 off seasons, they have done it. Well, he had a down year this year. Good, bad, or indifferent. The Dolphins have every right to go to him and say, we want to renegotiate now. Help us so we can help us get better players in here and win a Super Bowl.
He's not going to, Steven.
He will.
Steven,
he will.
The problem with renegotiations, you can only do it but so many times until that money catch up. That's the problem with X's deal. He got too much guaranteed money still.
The Dolphins will renegotiate him this year.
No, you can't. The only way you renegotiate with players is if you're giving them more guaranteed money, which is going to hurt you even more later. You keep kicking the can down the road. They can't kick X down the road anymore.
All right, go ahead. I believe that they renegotiate for a team-friendlier deal.
If they do renegotiate, Steven, and turn some of his guaranteed money into signing bonus, then now you're kicking the can down the road to be even worse.
I'm worried about the next 2 years, TD. I want to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years.
See, this is the issue with the Dolphins. You got X making the money he's making. You got Tyreek making the money that he's making, right? Yep. You're about to – then you're going to add a Christian Wilkins. Then you're going to be adding guys that, like, say Tua does work out. Then you're adding Tua. All of these guys at the same.
See, God don't like ugly, TD. Nando wearing his tinfoil hat because he's ready. He's ready for the foolishness. All right, real quick, until TD comes back. Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show. Clock Blockers right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. It's Hot Take Tuesday. It's Nando Talk, hanging out with TD Phins Talk, who's here. We're cooking in the lab. We're having a good time. Make sure y'all hit that like button.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. I was just hitting the reset while you were coming back.
Oh, my bad. What I was saying is the problem with every roster, go look at every roster salary cap.
Okay. I'm not going to go look right now, but I hear you.
Maybe 3 players over $20 million.
Okay.
Over $20 million.
I agree with that. I'm not debating it.
In the next 2-3 years, we can have 6 over $20 million. And it ain't realistic. That's why everybody can't stay. Everybody's not going to be able to stay.
Got to hit more in the draft. Starts this year.
Yeah. You have to be able to find a replacement in the draft. But it's been fun, guys. I'm at my spot. I'll hit y'all later, all right?
All right, TD. Love you, brother. Be good, man.
All right, peace.
Mr. TD.
Ladies and gentlemen, TD Phins Talk.
Always a pleasure.
Nando, let's talk a little bit about what TD was talking about. I mean, do you think that what are your thoughts on anything that he said that stuck out to you?
Well, we do have like a lot of big contracts coming up, man, and I agree. If we pay that O line, it's going to be a little bit interesting to see how we start upgrading, especially things on defense. I wanted to ask TD before he left, but I'll ask you, Steven. We were talking about push comes to shove, like who gets the final say, like McDaniel or Vic Fangio, especially with money being a little tight. If we upgrade O-line, then it comes to the draft. You know, resources are scarce. We're still trying to upgrade. You think Greer's going to listen to Fangio and decide to upgrade defense through the draft more?
I think whoever gets the priority in free agency will get the opposite person will get the priority in the draft.
Boom, boom.
I think that's
I like
how
that. Oh, man.
You know,
then hopefully we can reload some pieces there.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the reality of the situation. We know that potentially running back and tight end, although I have said over the last week, I don't think we need to go out and get anybody, maybe tight end. But if we go out and upgrade on the O-line significantly, we can keep the person who we have in the backfield. We can keep, the people that we had in the backfield. Bring back Jeff Wilson on a team veteran, team friendly, 1 year, 2 year deal, whatever. And my personal opinion, you don't need to touch the wide receivers. We're good there. And the tight end situation, I mean, look, Ethan Carter was hurt last year. The Dolphins are big on him. And Alec Ingo got a lot of playing time at the tight end position. Plus you have Tanner Connor, who the Dolphins obviously like. That's why he was that's why they had 5 tight ends make the team last year, man. And that didn't include Ethan Carter, who was on the IR. So, the reality of the situation is I don't know if they go out and get a Waller or Schultz or, another tight end that could be on the free agent market, right? And we talk about, Dalvin Cook or Saquon Barkley. I mean, that's plausible, but in my opinion, I somewhat agree with TD that if they don't go in and upgrade the offensive line, then it does not matter what they do because I mean, there are 2 people that I think are really, really good when it comes to the running back situation, right? I think it's the guy out of Tennessee, Derrick Henry, and maybe, I mean, look, you have Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook's probably up there, but there's only like 3 or 4 running backs that I think Saquon maybe when he's healthy, right? That just make a complete difference. My question is, you still go look at all those places. They have offensive linemen that make the Pro Bowl. They have offensive line that make the first team all pro. We're not there. We're just not there. And so, let's be honest. I love Derrick Henry, and I think he's the best running back in the NFL and has been for the last 5 years. But would Derrick Henry have the type of success in Miami that he's had in Tennessee the last 5 years if he was in Miami the last 5 years with this offensive line? I have to say no. I have to say I don't think so. I think offensive line is everything. And if they don't address that, it doesn't matter what anything, like to me, that is the biggest and most number one priority they need to. And then it's the middle linebacker. In my opinion, I think that, and what we're going to do here in a little bit is we're going to listen to the Vic Fangio press conference and you and I are going to break it down step by step. I think that Vic Fangio will get an opportunity to upgrade that position, and whether that be free agency or draft, he'll get the person he probably wants, I would bet. And I also agree that if teams are, and to go back to the coaching situation real quick, if you have defensive coordinators that are taking steps down, somebody said in the chat a little bit ago, hey, nobody heard of, Ronaldo Hill as a coach. They just remember him as a player, for playing with us 2 years ago. But this, our fan base didn't know Ronaldo Hill. Look, we got a defensive coordinator to take a step down to come coach here because of Fangio, which is huge. I love Fangio. I think Fangio is one of the best. We talk about offseason moves. Look, I know I said this before with our offensive line coach. I hope that, I was like, it was different. It was new last year. We've had 9 offensive line coaches in 10 years, and now we have a new one. But I think the Dolphins need to just get on the page of offensive line, middle linebacker, and everywhere else. There are some pieces here and there we need to fill in, but those are the 2 areas of just major improvement that they need to make in this offseason. And if they do that, I don't care who's playing quarterback as far as Tua or somebody else. I think we have a legit shot at making a run at this thing. and Fangio giving us a top 5, top 10 defense. And, or if our offense upgrades even more did I read it correctly? Did the Dolphins have the 6th best offense in the NFL last year?
I know we were top 10. If we were 6, that'd be awesome. I thought we were 8, but 6
on Twitter that we were we were 6th best offense in the NFL last year. So
sure
if it was
some
top
metrics,
10,
we were probably top 5, top 6.
Yeah. So look, if
at least top 10 overall,
if it ends up being that we have a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense, are we not one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl next year, no matter who the quarterback is?
The balance on that team would be amazing, Steven.
So, look, I think Fangio was the best move for this franchise, and I love to see him bringing over coaches like Ronaldo Hill, and I would love to still see Sean Desai come over and Chris Richard or Chris Richard. Man, it's going to be big. We are, and I know people are like, I'm looking at the glass, I'm being a homer, I'm looking at half full. I don't care. I'm excited. I do think we need to be very, hey, look, what about this O-line? Like, let's hold them to the fire. Got to address the O-line. But as a fan, I'm just personally excited about that. And I think you are too, right?
I'm always excited, Steven. But like, it seems a little bit more tangible this year, man. Like, fix O-line, hopefully in free agency, because we have a weird history in the draft, man. Make the right moves throughout the rest of free agency, throughout the rest of the draft, and we get a top 10 offense, top 10 defense, Steven. Like, why wouldn't we be excited? Why wouldn't we be happy and pumped for the season, man? There's a legitimate shot, and I know everyone hates hearing that word. We have a shot. This is the year. This is our shot. But Steven, I'm going to say it again because this is the year we have a great shot, man.
This is the best shot we've had in the last 25 years, I think.
Last year was a great shot. This year's even better, man. Year 2?
100%. 100%. All right, Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. I want to remind you all, hit the like button, donate to the channel, help the channel grow. It's just, small shop here. Even if it's $1, it goes such a long way into helping the channel grow. All right, let me bring in the Fangio press conference here, and we're going to watch that together, you and I. And if you want me to pause anywhere, we'll elaborate on it as we go along. Is that cool?
There we go, Steven. You're right.
Can you hear it?
Given the opportunity, I was very excited about the opportunity. I was really pumped that he joined in the vision, and couldn't be happy. Couldn't be any happier really for the organization and really a guy that takes professional football serious, but also the obligation to continue to evolve and get better. And you don't have a sustaining career for longer than I've been alive, really, like Vic has, without that fearless chase of continuing to evolve and get better and be your best version of yourself as you age with grace. So without further ado, Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins.
Fearless Fangio.
Yeah. Well, thank you to Mike for that intro, and thank you for being here today. It's a holiday. Sure, some of you weren't happy to have to be here, but rather than pontificate up here, I'll just open it up to questions.
Vic, you were
big word
in Miami. You was in high demand. A lot of teams that were looking into potentially bringing you in. What made Miami the right fit and the right opportunity for you after a year off?
Yeah, Fusi.
Well, I think the Dolphins
have
a good thing going here. I like the Mike and his staff that he already has in place here. I think there's good components to the coaching staff led by Mike that made it intriguing to join that. I think there's a good nucleus of players here and the lure of South Florida.
What do you think are some of the most important ways to maximize the players' talent?
Well, I've always believed you just try and improve every player as an individual. And then hopefully you do that well enough to where their position group improves. And if their position group improves, then the defense has improved. So you really do it from the ground up. And there's a lot of good
young players here that I think have room to grow, and hopefully myself and the staff will get that done.
Connection with Mike. I mean, when did you guys meet and develop a relationship where you'd be
really didn't have much of a relationship with Mike. You know, obviously we have some mutual friends, but as far as Mike and I having a relationship worth mentioning prior to this, you know, would be misleading. You know, obviously I knew of him, he knew of me. We've had 2-3 minute casual conversations, maybe at a combine or somewhere else, but no major connection, relationship prior to this.
Does that worry you?
Having said that,
let's talk about that real quick. You know,
does it worry you?
I personally don't think that it worries me too much. I think here's the thing. One of the reasons, let's go back, let's rewind the clock a little bit. We go back to last offseason, and the Dolphins are trying to find a new head coach. And I said, hey, look, you know, here's something I want. I want a veteran coach that has had or cultivated relationships within the NFL over a long period of time to be able to bring in the right coaching staff. They didn't do that. They brought in McDaniel, right? And I'm not saying it was the wrong decision. I'm just telling you, with first-time head coaches, you're going to, and especially a young first-time head coach, let me throw that out there. He hasn't been in the league long enough to cultivate certain relationships. So here's the thing. In his Rolodex, if he's looking, McDaniel probably didn't have anybody that he could call out and be like, I can bring this guy in because I know him and I trust him, and this is what I want to do, right? Let's look at the offseason. This offseason, Dolphins got rid of their first-year head coach, or the first-year offensive line coach after 1 year again. And they bring in somebody who from Denver that has all this offseason, you know, players didn't like him, whatever, but he has a personal relationship with McDaniel, right? McDaniel doesn't have anybody on the defensive side that he trusts enough to be like, yes, this is the person that I do not have to worry about on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
But he knows Fangio's got the resume to. He knows Fangio has the resources to. And so if he's sitting there thinking, he's like, what do I need to do? I know one thing I don't want to do is walk down a sideline during the defense and tell my defensive coordinator to clean this crap up. I don't want to have to worry about the defense. He does not have to do that with Fangio, and he knows that. And so by bringing, I'm sure that if he had a dream list of these are 5 guys in the NFL that if they ran my defense, I wouldn't even question it based on, you know, their just who they are alone. Okay. Just their cred alone. And Fangio is probably at the top of that list. And when Fangio had the opportunity to come here, it was a no-brainer for him. Hey, we're in South Florida. You already live here. Your mother's here. Money's here. Everything's here. Tax breaks. Give it all. We're all here. And so am I worried that they don't have a personal relationship before this? No, I'm not. Because at the end of the day, Fangio's going to run the defense. McDaniel's going to run the offense. And the hope is that both of these guys will lean into each other as far as Fangio will help McDaniel become a better head coach, and McDaniel will lean into Fangio to be like, I don't have to worry about the defense at all. Whatever happens, happens. And I can worry and focus on the offense because I'm calling the plays for the offense, and I can help this offense get better, which is ultimately what I was brought here to do anyway. That's how I look at it. What about you?
Yeah, man, like I'm not like worried. Like at the end of the day, they don't have like a real deal relationship, whatever. It just brings them to almost every other single head coach and defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator. Like I don't think they're all buddies with each other before the job. Now that they're starting to work with each other, I'm hoping that they get along. I'm hoping it all works out. At the very least, like you said, they had a couple conversations. At least he wasn't like, who's McDaniel? I've never heard of that kid.
Their reputations preceded each other. I don't think. I mean, look, was it a perfect fit that he was already down here? Yes. But I don't think Fangio was going to come here if McDaniel's reputation wasn't in high regard amongst NFL circles either.
Of course. I'm sure Fangio has enough connections that he could have been like, hey, what's the deal with this McDaniel dude? And they could have been like, oh, no, he's a clown. Don't go to Miami. And he'd have been like, noted, I'm going somewhere else. I'm sure Fangio did enough vetting that he said, hey, he might not have a relationship. Still agree to the job. Still, the allure of South Florida is more than just the beaches and the sun. It's also the football he's going to be playing down here, man. So I'm not worried.
And let's get something straight. It's not like Greer and McDaniel had a relationship before Greer picked McDaniel, right? So
most people don't. Like most players in the NFL, it's how you said. It's the reputation that precedes them. Yeah. And then you beat
the reputation is elite. So all right, let's bring it back in.
From the little that you've spoken of now.
What's that?
Having said that, from the little that you've been with them now, what's your first impressions of a guy like that?
Yeah, well, it's been very little because I got here last Tuesday and Mike was on vacation. So today's the first day we're in here together. Now, we did some Zoom interviews together from where he was last week. But, everything I thought, he's energetic, genuine.
Let me just throw that out there. They said that Greer or McDaniel probably you just heard him saying that I did a couple of Zoom interviews with him last week, which means McDaniel was involved in the defensive coordinator hiring. Just want that to be known and stated for the record to the rest of the fan base and in the community itself. McDaniel had a say. He did an interview with him. Just want to throw that out there.
Okay. That's reassuring at least.
Obviously got a good football mind, puts good offensive football out there, and hopefully we can complement that.
I know that this past season you aren't in the NFL for most of the year anyway, but you did spend quite a bit of time studying games. In the time that you were studying games, what could you take away from what you saw of the Dolphins defense? What stood out to you?
Well, I didn't study the Dolphins defense per se that much. Basically what I did with all my time, I kind of treated it like
it wasn't worth studying.
Professor on a sabbatical and was watching a lot of NFL tape more from a situational standpoint rather than studying a team per se. So I never actually studied the Dolphins in its entirety. Now, obviously, their games would come across these situational studies that I was doing, and I think there's some good young talent there. Obviously, just from 2 years ago in the draft with Phillips and Holland, and those are two really good players that I really liked in the draft. Bradley Chubb is here, who obviously I know about, and several other guys. Christian Wilkins is here, who another guy I liked in the draft, who, Christian's greatest honor is the Bill Campbell Award Trophy, which is the academic Heisman. And Bill Campbell was a good friend of mine. So he'll always, when I see him, I always think of that. And, but there's a good nucleus of players here. For me to give you a great answer schematically, I'd be stretching it.
Got a ton of defensive coordinator.
That's good though, man.
Tenure with
what is
head coaching?
At least he saw us in that situational defense. I don't know if it was bad or good. I don't know if he was looking at bad situations or good situations, but at the very least, when we came upon the situations he was studying, he still saw some good pieces there. He didn't study us per se, but let's say he was looking at defenses that at least had some concepts that he liked, and that's the situations he was looking at. You saw some Dolphins on there.
Here's what I think that I kind of got from him. It sounds like, okay, I'm looking at 1st and 10s. What did defense runs on 1st and 10s? When the NFL was mostly in 3rd and shorts, what were offenses mostly running, and how did the defense stack up against them? That's what I think he was looking at, situational things all around the NFL. So whatever access to film he had, he probably went and said, okay, 3rd and shorts in the NFL, let me go see all the 3rd and shorts. So he would go look at, multiple, plays of 3rd and shorts around the NFL, or, and so that's what it sounds like when he's talking about. Now, I don't know if he gets into this a little bit more, but from what I've read during the press conference, because I was on Twitter while this press conference was going on, is they were saying, hey, look, it sounds like he was, he had a room, he had multiple computers, he had a spreadsheet, and he did nothing but research this past off season. So it sounds like he was in a lab, which I really like. It makes me excited because this man kind of took a year off and pretty much saw what the NFL is doing, and take his resume and having a year off to really gain all of this knowledge about the NFL. Does that not excite you? Because that excites me.
He wasn't just in the lab. He was literally in the lab, literally in the lab, cooking up new defenses. That's amazing, Steve. I'm beyond excited.
The experience. How will that transform who you are in this state as a DC?
You know, my experience as the head coach won't change it too much because I still ran the defense when I was in Denver. So I just continued on that path. Obviously, I had more on my plate that I was responsible for. But I've done this job enough now that I don't see it being a major factor.
Vic, how important was it to get Ronaldo to come from LA, and how did you convince him to leave the DC job to work under you?
What was the first part of the question?
I guess just how important.
Yeah, it's important. You know, first and foremost, Ronaldo's a good coach. You know, really a talented coach that's got a bright future in the NFL. He worked with us for 2 years in Denver. So, you know, his familiarity with me and the system and what we do was important to me. But regardless of that, just his ability to be a great coach is what attracted me to him.
How did you convince him to leave?
I'll let him answer that for you at some point.
How do you like to go about deciding
I like that.
which players should play and which players should play a lot? Maybe some aren't going to play a lot. How do you go about that?
Well, that's a process that's, you know, starts in training camp. You know, I could say OTAs, but in OTAs, we're going to be teaching everything. It's a process that really the players are in charge of. Now, there's
let me pause this real quick. This is another thing I need people to understand. We talk about offenses, and you know, one of the things that excites me about this year is Tua's going to have a second straight year with the same play calling and the same playbook, right? Let's talk about it from a defensive standpoint, right? Defense this year is going to have to learn new terminology, new plays, like there's going to be a transition level. I think two things that kind of sticks out to me is the players that he just talked about: Javon Holland, Jalen Phillips, Christian Wilkins, Chubb, who, by the way, is somebody on you know, in the linebacker and also, you know, can rush the quarterback as well. I think will be a big part in helping this defense implement whatever play calling or scheme or schematic you want to call it that Fangio tries to install here. And so I think that'll be a big deal. And also understanding that he said, look, you know, Christian Wilkins got the highest academic award in college football his last year. He's somebody, he's smart. He's somebody that he knows, he can tell, and he will learn the system, and it won't be as big of a learning curve as it might be with somebody else. So I think that there were some of the personnel that was here, that is currently here and currently on the roster. It psychs him because the learning curve won't be as far with some of the personnel intact. And bringing in Ronaldo Hill allows him that he doesn't also have to teach a coaching staff the scheme either. I already now have a coaching staff that understands what I'm trying to do. And it's one less thing that I have to, not only do I have to teach these players the schematics, I also have to teach this coaching staff. Well, Ronaldo Hill allows me to feel a little more confident that whatever schematic or scheme I try to instill here, I know that when I send Ronaldo Hill to go do it with the defensive backs or the secondary or the corners, I don't have to worry about anything because I know he knows what I'm talking about, and that's taken care of. So he's making his job easier by doing these things as well. And that, I mean, come on, like 1 + 1 is 2, and it keeps adding up for Fangio. And so I just want to say that there will be some learning curve, but he's doing everything he can to make the game a little bit easier for him by bringing in the coaching staff that already knows, and then already having smart players like Christian Wilkins and Chubb, who already knows the defense in his terminology too.
Yeah, it just simplifies it a little bit, man. Just don't teach the coaches as much. Get his guys in there, and they'll be able to implement the system a lot faster too.
Yep. And he just said it, you know, in OTAs, right? In OTAs, that's where we're implementing it. So by the time we get out to training camp, we can start practicing it.
Bang.
That you'd like to play every play. Sometimes that's not possible from a exertion standpoint. But a lot of the great players that I've been around, they never leave the field very often. I know the Heat here is a different element, an animal to deal with. But, there'll be plenty of packages available for guys to get playing time. But who plays and how much is really up to the players.
Let me just pause that real quick. One of the things that always bothered me in watching games over the past 20 years as a Dolphins fan is seeing certain players come out on third down, or certain players only come in on third downs. These third down packages compared to the first and second down. Or why do they keep on taking this player out? I like what he said. He's like, the good players play majority of every snap. It's not about personnel packages. It's about being able to run my scheme no matter what down it is. So I just want to throw that into the back of your minds too when you're watching the Dolphins defense this year, that player snaps are going to be an indicator on how well that player knows or understands the defense that Fangio is trying to install. You agree with that, Mando?
Yeah, so they're ready to go for any situation, man. Like, that's why they come down to like, oh, you can't be there for passing downs. Well, that sucks because third down's massive, bro. So if they know the playbook, if they're ready for all situations, then yeah, man, we'll see a lot less of these annoying substitutions, whether it's guys coming out or guys coming in. I want the best guys out there, all downs at all times. Please.
Time off. Did you come up with anything new that you would like to try out there on the field?
Yeah, there's a few things that I came up with that I'm anxious to try. We'll try them in OTAs at some point and in training camp, and as a good fit for the other things we do. But what's going to be most important is tailoring what we do to our players and to the opponent that we're playing for that week. So, there may be things that we did at previous stops that we won't do much here because it doesn't fit our players, and vice versa. We might do something a lot that we didn't do other places because it's a better fit for our players. So, and sometimes it's a better, you might think it would be great to do something because it fits a certain player really good, but you really have to think about how it fits all 11 and what's the best way to stop somebody from scoring too many points.
That's something that I find very interesting, Nando, right? So he's talking about player personnel and adjusting whatever defensive scheme he runs to the player's fit, to fit the player's best abilities. I think that'll be something very important as we move along this offseason and free agency market, as well, and even into next offseason, right? Seeing who this is going to be, and maybe even in training camp, right? The Dolphins have been known to cut a trade or two at the end of training camp to maybe get a player here or there off or out. I'm very interested to see how he works that in, because here's what I know of most older generation coaches. That older generation is, this is the package that I run. You're going to learn how to make this package work or you're not going to be here. Well, Fangio just flat out said in the press conference, hey, look, I understand that players are good at certain things and they're not good at others. I want my defense to obviously work well with their best abilities. So if that means that I'm going to be doing stuff that I might not have done at other stops where I was a defensive coordinator or a head coach, that's because the players here have different abilities than the players that I had at other coaching. I think that that's a very strong suit that you don't see a lot from the older generation of coaching, that they're not willing to adapt to the players that are currently on their roster. And I think that's a huge thing coming from somebody like Vic Fangio.
Massive, man. He's got that open mind. He said, be like water. My defense is going to adjust, adapt, whatever works that week, whatever works overall. We're going to be changing it up week to week. We're going to be changing it up because this is a new team, new players. I love it, bro. Like it's exactly that. For an older coach to have that open-mindedness is massive. It's massive for us.
Your time with him in Denver, your thoughts on Bradley Chubb, and what's the key to unlocking the best of him here in Miami?
Well, the 3 years, Bradley and I talked about this the other day when he was in here. The 3 years I was with him in Denver, he was the victim of some injuries. I believe he got hurt in the fourth game the first year I was there and was out for the season. Came back the second year. And it took him about 4 or 5 games to get into a groove coming off the injury. And then he had a good season that year. And then he really basically missed, it doesn't say it statistically, but he missed most of my last year there because he had an ankle injury that kept him out. And when he came back, he wasn't himself, still recovering he had 2 ankle injuries. So I'm anxious to get him rolling, keep him healthy, and see the Bradley Chubb that we all know he's capable of being.
Based on what you know about Bradley and what you like about Jalen Phillips entering the draft a couple years ago, what potential do those two have as a pass rushing duo here?
They have great potential. But, potential, we got to see it. Talking about it is easy. Projecting it is easy, but we got to see it. And I'm confident knowing those two guys' work ethic that they'll do everything they can to put a good product out there on the field from the both of them. But they both have the tools, both have the makeup to be really good players on the edges for us.
How do you describe your defensive philosophy?
Let's go.
We've heard a lot in the last couple of weeks about things you do, but how do you have any way to
not a buzzword if that's what you're looking for. We're in charge of not letting the other team score, and we will do anything and everything to do that. I've been places in the past where we pressured a lot. I've been places where we didn't pressure very much. You got to fit the scheme to the players that you have while also factoring in the opponents that you're playing. So hopefully we'll be a team that will keep the points down, make it hard for teams to score a lot of points, and put our offense in position to score points for us. So, I'm not a buzzword guy as far as that goes, other than we want to play good defense. And what's good defense? Keep them out of the end zone.
Going off of that, what is your general philosophy when it comes to blitz specifically?
Blitz.
As needed and when I want to. Versus
there we go.
Having to.
Versus having to.
That's not a great feeling. You want to do it when you want to on your terms. Now, having said that, I can't tell you what that means from a percentage standpoint.
Just whenever he wants to.
Mike mentioned you've been doing.
You want me to pause it? What you want to elaborate?
Just whenever he wants to. No, yeah, I'm just saying like no percentage point. He just said I'm just going to do it whenever I feel like. Whenever I want to let the blitz fly, I'm going to. He just doesn't like that's awesome. Like, I don't want him to be boxed in and be like, well 27% of the time I'm going to be blitzing. Like, no, bro, just do what it feels right.
I think one of the things that sticks out to me in his comments there was you don't want to have to be forced to run the blitz. And I feel like, looking at
naturally.
Yeah, I feel like when you're kind of forced to run the blitz, it kind of means, is this offense, are they just throwing it so much on you that you have no choice but to try to pressure this quarterback to try to get some help, to get it out of his hand quicker or whatever the case may be. He said it multiple times already in this press conference. He's like, to fit the schematic of the offense that we're playing against, which means that when they're playing Patrick Mahomes this year, the defense that you're going to see is going to be a little bit different than maybe the scheme that you might see when they face Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson or whoever they're going to face this upcoming season. They're going to run different things. And I think that'll be really, really good to see, especially, again, Dolphins have the second hardest schedule in the NFL. I'm excited to see what Fangio has in store for that.
Trial by fire.
This longer than he's been alive. You see these young guys, young head coaches, the offensive philosophy is changing. How do you mix with that? And do you think he'll benefit from having a guy who's been around like you that has seen it all?
Yeah, the game's evolving. Since I got in the league, the evolution of the game has just continued. And I think we saw it firsthand in the Super Bowl. I guess it was 8 days ago. Two great quarterbacks, two great offenses, and they had their way with both defenses in that game. There was I believe 17 possessions in that game, and I think 14 of them resulted in scores. And we've got to find a way to slow that down. And the only way you
let me just pause. The Miami Dolphins this upcoming season face both those teams. They face Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They face Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. They're going to face some high, heavy, fast-hitting offenses this year. And so if you don't think that Fangio knows that with, in the back of his mind, he got another thing coming. He knows this just isn't trying to compete for the AFC East. This is about playing some of the top-tier teams in the NFL.
Second hardest schedule, man. It's going to be trial by fire.
To do that is to evolve your philosophy, what you're teaching, what you're playing, to fit stopping what they're doing now, to line up and play what you did 10, 15 years ago. Although you're still doing some of that, you have to adapt it to today's NFL game. And, when there's years ago, every team had a fullback. Now hardly any teams have a fullback. And the fullback's been replaced by a third wide receiver or a second tight end who's like a third wide receiver. That in and of itself has changed the game. But teams are still running the ball. Everybody likes to say it's a pass-happy league, but percentage-wise, from 40 years ago to now, the runs have decreased only about 4%. And Chris Greer told me, because
if somebody had to ask me the percentage of decrease from runs in an NFL game over the last 20 years was only 4%, I would have said that's nuts. That's crazy. We live in a pass-happy league now. No way.
It's gone up in the last year or two. Maybe that's had a bit to do with it, but I agree. I thought it would be way higher than 4%.
100%. Was very surprised when I saw that.
It has gone up recently, with Henry and McCaffrey and stuff, but I don't know. It's really weird.
He's on the competition committee. They had a graphic last week in a meeting. This is the most runs in the NFL this past year in the last 25 years.
That's crazy.
So you still have to be able to stop the run and play physical.
Now, what I would be interested to know is what percentage of that is quarterback runs.
That's true.
I would be interested to know if this is the most runs that we've had in the NFL in the last 25 years, what percentage of that is quarterback runs? Be interested to know what that number is.
Like quarterback scrambles or design QB runs? Because I guess a design QB runs still more like stopping the run. Scrambling is a little different.
Here, we say all the time, well, we face Josh Allen. We gotta contain him. He can't run on us. Same thing for Lamar, right? Lamar ran up and down our throats in that Baltimore game, but it didn't matter at the end of the day, right? It still resulted in us winning that game because Tua had the craziest fourth quarter comeback that we've ever seen. Now, I think that you look at quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts, even Patrick Mahomes can run it on you. He can get out of the pocket at the end of the day and give you 15, 20 yards because they're so worried about his arm. I think the percentage of rushing quarterbacks or quarterbacks just scrambling out of the pocket, I think it's up. And you look at the type of offense that we run. I mean, I've said this in general. I said if Tua ran the ball more, I mean, look, he'd be more open to being hit. I get that, but I think it would extend a couple of drives here and there if he was willing to just tuck it down and give me 8 yards. Bam, there you go. Bip-Bop says misleading myth of the NFL teams have to be well-rounded offensively to succeed. Yeah, I mean, there's some truth in that, right? So 100%.
Let's ride.
That you took. Can you give us a little bit more details of maybe what that looked like week to week for you, watching those situational drills?
Well, I set up shop. I lived in Destin, Florida, up on the Panhandle, and I had a computer that I was able to VPN into, and it was just like if I was in an office, an NFL office. I had exposure to everything that any NFL coach had at that time. And wherever I went, I would tune in and do my, not every day, but most every day, spend a few hours watching tape and doing these different types of studies like third down, red zone, formational studies, against offensive personnel. And so I did that a lot up there. I traveled out of there. I'd go back east and fly into Philadelphia and either drive 2 hours north and see my mother or 2 hours south and see my kids. I've spent some time in San Francisco, but no matter where I was doing that. Just doing it on a kitchen table. Sometimes I went into a library and did it. But I just did that all year. Played some golf too. So it was an interesting year. One that I would recommend for anybody to do at some point, but in this business, you can't do it too often.
What was the
I just want to say that I said that earlier this morning, and our little back and forth. It's such a big deal, I think, for that Fangio got to take a quote unquote sabbatical, 1 year sabbatical. He got to take a year off and got to enjoy, obviously his life, enjoy, the day to day, but he's still involved with the game. And he was still taking notes, and he was still observing, and he was still in tune with what the rest of the NFL was going on. We saw, the Philadelphia Eagles sign him for 2 weeks, which I think he gets into a little bit at the end of this press conference here, or it's at least discussed, I think, of what his details were. But I think that's going to be a big thing for Fangio, because he, when you are a coordinator, you're focused on the team that you're running, right? Fangio's had 1 year to observe the entire NFL and has had an entire a year to be able to see this is what the NFL does. This is what this team does. This is what this team does. Could you imagine the notes that this man has taken over the last year? You don't think he's going to be ready for no matter who we play against? I think that's such a big thing in the scheme of things, because this guy for the past year hasn't been focused on one team in a week-to-week, offense that he has to face. He's got a chance to observe from afar the entirety of how the NFL is being run right now, and I think that's huge.
No, it's massive, man. He wasn't like on some obscure retreat on some remote island. Like he was with it's VPN Vic out there just studying plays. Like I didn't even know he was that tech savvy. There we go, man. This is a wildly 65-year-old man. Like we're talking about not only a defensive genius, but a tech genius too for this age, bro. Like let's go, man.
Come on, like, Vic out here showing these people how a computer works. I like it. Let's go.
VPN Vic, man. Like
VPN Vic. I like it.
We'll go.
Desire to get back in. Some may have just enjoyed life. You want to get back into coaching. Why?
Yeah, because that's who I am. That's what I do. That's what I like to do. I still have a lot of coaching left in me. And
65 years young.
It's not like I'm thinking about retirement or anything. Somebody asked, how much longer are you going to do this? I don't know. It might be 10 years if they'll have me here for 10 years. Who I am, what I do, what I enjoy doing.
They'll have me here for 10 years.
I like teaching players. I like to see players improve as individuals. And putting something together is challenging and fulfilling.
Vic, you mentioned teaching players. One guy you mentioned earlier was Javon Holland. I know you've had a lot of success with safeties. What do you think you could maybe teach him to elevate his game?
Well, I haven't studied him enough since he's gotten the NFL as far as what can I teach him, but I do know I really liked him the year he came out in the draft. I like his physical ability, his combination of size, speed, quickness. He's got good instincts. I think he's smart from a football standpoint. And you're right. We've had some good luck with safeties over the years in the last few stops. And I'm hopeful and confident that he can be one of the top safeties in the league.
Vic, you mentioned fitting your scheme to the players. With your relationship with Chris Greer, how much input will you have on bringing in certain players with all the relationships you have that you think will fit here?
Well, we haven't sat down and said how much I will, but you can rest assured if there's somebody I feel strong about, I'll be in and out of his offense, pestering him pretty strongly.
That says a lot. That says a lot. We talked this morning with TD about who's going to get a priority. TD tried to make the sense of, hey, look, he wasn't going into McDaniel's office. He's going straight. So let's get something straight. Number one, Fangio has a direct line of communication with the GM. I think we need to notice that and take note of that here. That's big, right? I think it also says, a lot that it says to me, and as sure as it says to everybody else, there's, I guess, two head coaches, if you kind of think about it. There's Fangio, who's going to run the defensive side, and there's McDaniel, who's going to run the offensive side, special teams, and obviously press. It's exactly, I have to, TD said it this morning, verbatim, pretty much what I just said. And so, I think that's of note that he's a direct line of communication. Now, what my hope is that, they get inside a room, Greer, McDaniel, and Fangio on a consistent basis and say, hey, look, I understand there's a need here, but there's also a priority here. This is about not just, hey, what's best for the team, let alone what's best for the Miami Dolphins defense. So I'm interested to see how that dynamic obviously plays itself out going into free agency, going into training camp, OTAs, offseason. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting little balance. Not like a tug of war, but like definitely how they balance each other's needs and like respect each other as well. If there's going to be this idea that there's like an offensive head coach and like a defensive head coach, that they're not stepping on each other's toes, but exactly that they're thinking of the Dolphins overall and what's going to be best for the team in general. I definitely agree with what you said earlier that whoever gets the priority in free agency, they'll probably give the other one the priority in the draft. Maybe smooth it over that way. But it's why I want free agency to start, man. I want to see what our draft looks like.
And I have to tell you, this is a very different dynamic, right? Most coordinators there's a chain of command. You go through your head coach, and the head coach goes to the GM, and that's kind of how it works. The fact that Vic Fangio was very
clear
that he would have a direct line of walking in and out of Chris Greer's office, I think says a lot.
He's got a lot of power, man. He's got that little bit of flexibility, which is what I'm sure.
I like that 100%.
I'm sure he wanted that too when he was looking for a job. Like he probably let that be known a little bit, which is maybe a little bit credence to what TD was saying earlier, that he looked at Miami and said, hey, he probably can't do that in Denver. They're probably going to be like, yo, we gotta wait till Sean gets here. Okay. He probably has a little bit more of a leeway to do that in Miami with the younger head coach, but I'm sure he could have done that in most other buildings as well.
Ritter has a good comment real quick. He says, hey, Stephen D, interesting comment. Fangio says he enjoys teaching players. The usual response is, I enjoy coaching players. What's your thought on that? All right. Well, look, we talk every day up here on the podcast, and, it's interesting. Sometimes my terminology gets loose from me. I'm not saying that's not what he meant, but he did use the words teaching players rather than coaching players. When you get to the NFL, I think there's a very fine line between the talent that's currently there and how to move that talent to the next level. And you look at successful teams in the NFL and you look at non-successful teams in the NFL, which I'm going to say for the past 25 years, we've had non-successful teams. And the biggest difference you can tell between the successful ones and the non-successful ones are the consistency within the coaching staff and allowing to cycle through players. I mean, look, we hate the Patriots, but when the Patriots players got so big that they were demanding these high contracts, they didn't care. It was next man up. We'll bring somebody else in that can learn it and teach it and do it. And so I think Fangio does enjoy teaching his players whatever system or making his players better. And the goal is that, we talked this morning about, hey, we got to pay these guys. There's no way that the Dolphins are going to be able to pay these 6 players over the next couple of years. How do the Dolphins combat that? Well, they combat that with good drafting, good undrafted free agents like Cater Kahoo, teaching those guys and making them that if somebody with a big contract opens themselves up and they, play themselves out of, financially, that it's just too much to keep them, the next man up, there's not going to be a huge drop off because they're learning and they're playing and they're going to get better. And I think that's what that says to me about Fangio making the comment, teaching players over coaching them. I think that's what that tells me. Caslin with a $5 donation, by the way, says he should bring back the 4-2-5 to choke the high-powered offenses out. I mean, that's possible. He could. What were you about to say, Dan? We go on.
Pretty cool, man. I don't know. I like this dynamic, man. Like, I wonder how it worked with the Rams with like McVay and Wade Phillips. Like, obviously, we're not my team. Nothing I really like looked into, but I wonder if they had a similar little dynamic. Like, hey, I've got such an experienced mind coming in. Like, he deserves a lot more say in the room than your typical coaching room. So I like that he teaches too. That's a great choice of words. Hopefully
I think you and I should look into that a little bit more. The McVay Wade Phillips situation. They ended up winning a Super Bowl that way, right?
They got to the Super Bowl.
They got to the Super Bowl that way. Phillips wasn't there when they won it, right?
Yeah, no, he wasn't there.
Okay, yeah. But Phillips? Did Phillips take a head coaching job after that?
He's an XFL coach now. I don't know if he went to. He's older. He's older than Fangio was. Like, I mean, like he's 75 now.
But it's still I guess their 10-year difference is a big difference, but there's still that similarity of a young offensive guru. I put that in quotations, guys. I don't want to get killed for that, as being the head coach, and then because it's different.
Wade Phillips steps away from football after 2019. He takes like a break until this past year, 2023, where he's.
And was he the LA Rams defensive coordinator?
Yes, from 2017 to 2019. Yeah.
When did the Rams win the Super Bowl?
2 years ago, right?
So he wasn't. It was just before that.
It was like the team he built, I guess you could say, if you want to.
The players that were there, the personnel that was there, was a lot of his doing.
Yeah, I mean, and then in the Super Bowl he lost. It was like a 13-3 loss. Like it was a crazy.
Yeah, but we could say Jared Goff was the quarterback in that Super Bowl. I mean, that said a lot about it too. And
that's what I'm saying. Like maybe without Goff, they win, bro. Anytime you hold a team to 13 points in the Super Bowl, you think you'd probably win.
You win. Exactly.
Turns out you put 3 points. Like that's ridiculous.
Defense today, Super Bowl caliber.
Oh, I don't know. Can we get one practice on the field? Jesus.
What was let me rewind a little bit.
I
rewound it a little bit.
His offense pestering him pretty strongly.
How close is this defense today, Super Bowl caliber?
Oh, I don't know. Can we get one practice on the field?
How close was this defense to a Super Bowl caliber?
Jesus Christ.
One practice, please.
This week, you've been here a week. You said about a week.
Yeah.
Your order of business this week.
Well, a lot of it's been spent on filling up the staff, and everything that's involved with that, which is a multitude of phone calls, Zoom interviews, talking to a lot of people. Did one day of a little house hunting, and up to this moment, I'm looking at one that's way too more than I wanted to spend. Jeez.
South Florida housing market.
It's been, I'll tell you what.
Why I don't live there.
Last week, it's one of those where you're super busy. But if you came in my office and, hey, show me what you got done today, I really couldn't show you much, because you're doing all the busy work, not handwriting busy work, but the leg work to fulfill your staff.
So if you've had conversations with them, what are your early impressions of Austin Clark, Anthony Campanelli, and Sam Madison?
Great. They were on vacation last week, although I did spend some time with Austin and Anthony. We watched some tape together, met Sam for a little bit. But by all reports and everything I know, they're great coaches, and that's why Mike kept them on. And I'm looking forward to working with them.
You mentioned
Madison's
spent
being
time. It's been reported with Philadelphia during the Super Bowl period. What did you learn, or what did you maybe help in that period that you think can?
Here's the Eagles coaching question.
I wasn't there often. Like I had said earlier, I would fly into Philadelphia and either end up going north a little bit or south a little bit to see family. And, I'd stop in and see them because Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni are friends of mine. And I'd spend some time there. But, and then when they got in the playoffs and I helped them prepare for the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl, but I was helping the offense, not the defense. I was giving them a defensive perspective for the offensive coaches, and it was a great experience. They got a great organization. Jeffrey Lurie's a great owner. Howie does a great job as the GM. Nick Sirianni's a great coach, and they really have a great staff up there. And what little I was around them, I enjoyed it.
I just want to throw that out there that, he said, look, I didn't help the defense. I was helping the offense prepare for the defense that they were going to face. I'm interested to know, and I would like a future press conference, maybe, somebody to ask the question. You said, hey, look, you helped the Philadelphia offense. You're here for the Miami Dolphin defense, and we get that. But are you going to help McDaniel in preparing Tua to play against certain defenses as well? Is that something that he will have a say in or be interested in, or just be involved with? I'd be interested to know that.
I love that, man. And I think that's part of the reason why, we can put a little tinfoil on this, but that's why he gets guys like Ronaldo Hill. He's like, hey, my stuff. Look, hey, you run practice for a second. I'm going to step away, work with the offense. We're gonna work on some stuff here. Me and McDaniel, we're gonna make sure that Tua is prepared. Ronaldo, go handle the deep practice right now.
Here's a stupid question: Is part of being the defensive coordinator working with the scout team defense and running the scout team defense?
I don't know that little nuance there. I don't know that
because
little nuance.
If it is the defensive coordinator's job to run the scout team defense, which I don't know if it is or not, then yes, he would be involved in helping Tua prepare weekly, which is good to know.
Yeah,
and I think it plays a part into it, Caslin 143 says, I love Vic, but he isn't Wade Phillips, but he's the closest thing there is to the league to Wade left and Belichick. Wade left, Belichick are the only two left. I think basically what he said, Vic is no Wade Phillips, but he's the closest thing to it, and Belichick and Vic Fangio are the only two left of mind of the defensive side. Which will be interesting. Which is an interesting, viewpoint.
Pretty similar mold guys, of that, like we said, of those older minds who are still smart.
Yes. Yeah. Look, they both know. I get it. All right, let's finish this out.
Background with the Dolphins at all before this?
No. Other than some of you are old enough to remember when the Dolphins was in the AFC East when it was a 5-team division, and I was with the Colts a couple years. Dan Marino and I talked about one of those games just last week. Obviously when you think about the Dolphins, you think about Don Shula, Dan Marino, the heyday in the 70s, the 17-0 season. I think the Dolphins are one of those franchises that the NFL is a better league when the Dolphins are relevant and in the hunt, and hopefully we can get it back to that.
I like that.
All right.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. It's Hot Take Tuesday. It's Nando Talk. It's Stephen D. We just finished watching the Vic Fangio press conference. Name one thing that really stood out for you, Nando. What is one thing about that press conference that just stood out to you?
I love the way he handled himself, just answering questions, sprinkling a little bit of humor, the practice question. But something that really stuck out to me for Fangio was that I love the fact that he really sat back there and had himself a little bit of a studio, the little VPN Vic. I'm gonna really take that away. I'm gonna try to make that a thing. VPN Vic was just sitting in the lab, just looking at different situations, how he could take that knowledge and use it for wherever he went to go. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that he was saying I'm going to prepare to be the Dolphins defensive coordinator, but it was, hey, I'm taking this year off my sabbatical. I'm going to rest up, reload, and wherever I hit the NFL, I'm going to kill it. Do you know how embarrassing it would be to say I sat out for a year and I completely flopped at my next job? No, bro. Fangio's going to come here so prepared, and I'm so excited for that, Stephen.
A lot of there's a portion of the fan base that I don't think are necessarily trying to hate on the hire, but trying to say you guys are putting way too much, into this hire. I don't think we're putting enough into this hire. I don't think we talk about 9 offensive line coaches in the last 10 years and how horrible that has been. Not with the understanding of when there's a revolving door of coaches, you get a revolving door of mediocrity. And what we do know about Vic Fangio is he somebody that's going to come in and make the transition from, night and day? No, there'll be a learning curve. We all don't deny that. But what we do know is that there will be some sort of significant upgrade at the defensive side, and his resume shows that. And, to be on your first full day, he's been there for a week, but his first full day was yesterday, and to bring in somebody like Ronaldo Hill, that was the defensive coordinator and was told to take a step back and come here. And then Campanelli, who was, mind you, a defensive coordinator prospect, to stay on the franchise, to stay with the team.
Love that.
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
even think of that. I didn't even think of that, Steven. That's awesome.
Campanelli could have easily said, well, if you guys aren't going to hire me, I'm going to go somewhere else, and I'm not part of. No, like he's like, I got this. I understand it. And he said that he already, with Campanelli and I forget the other guy, with the exception of Madison, that they already looked at game film a little bit together and they are in conversations on how to make this a winning franchise. And I like what he said at the end. And I don't think that was him just, pulling at the heartstrings of Miami Dolphins fans or playing up to the press. The NFL is a much better product when the Miami Dolphins are in the playoff hunt and a good team. And we haven't seen that for the last 20 plus years. But you know what? We made the playoffs last year. You know what? We haven't made back-to-back playoff appearances since 99 and 2000, if I'm correct. So
wow,
let's do it, man. And let's do it right now. And I believe that the Dolphins are on their way to have a very successful season. And I think part of it is because, we sat here at the end of the season and said, should they clean? The conversations were real on this channel as well as other places within the community. Should the Dolphins clean house? They just get rid of everybody and start over. The Dolphins, one thing I can say that they haven't done in the last 2 years, okay, this last offseason and this offseason, is make emotional decisions. Okay, they've made calculated ones. I'm not saying they've been great ones. They've been calculated ones. And at the end of the day, what I want to see is the Dolphins have a vision and a clear-cut way on how they want this vision to go. And so far, I can say for the past 2 years, I've been impressed. And when things haven't worked out, a.k.a. the offensive line, Matt Applebaum, I was a huge fan of Matt Applebaum. He was somebody totally different that they had from the previous 8 offensive line coaches. It didn't work out. They said, all right, didn't work out. We're going to bring somebody else in here. Am I as hung up? Am I as excited about the new offensive line coach? No, I'm not. But maybe that's good for me that I'm not excited about it, because it's the guy that McDaniel wanted. It's the guy that McDaniel said, no, I can make this guy the next thing or what I need him to be and get this to where I need it to go. Look, when it comes down to it, I know that you and I are very positive in the community and we're considered homers, whatever the case is. How can you not be excited with Vic Fangio coming in to take control of the defense? And with the defense of being where it's been for the last 20 years, I mean, it's got to excite you. And the fact that we stole a defensive coordinator, it doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if you've never heard of Ronaldo Hill a day in your life. We stole a defensive coordinator position. There's 32 teams, right? 32 defensive coordinator positions in the NFL, right? Only 32.
Yeah. Only 32.
The next is the head coach. We stole one of 32 jobs to take a demotion. Now, the prospect of him moving up in the future somewhere else, so be it.
No, I think it's a great move, regardless, man. It's exactly that concept that it's not a lateral move. Okay, we're not sitting here hyped that Ronaldo Hill is our new defensive coordinator. It's that we got him and we bumped him down. Okay, he didn't get fired. Okay, we said, hey, man, come here. Let's fix up your career. Let's give you a better shot. And he said, let's do it. I'm so excited. Let's be an assistant again. Let's sit back. Not only is Fangio going to teach players, let Fangio teach me. Okay. And Ronaldo Hill, boom, keep developing, keep growing here in Miami. And whatever eventuality pans out, whether he's a future defensive coordinator here or elsewhere, I still love that we have that level of, like you said, talent on the team, man, at an assistant staff spot. Or are we getting a little carried away with Fangio? Sure, maybe. But it's not like we're hyping up a first-year defensive coordinator either. We're hyping up a smart guy who keeps making smart talk. And I think this is another smart decision, Steven. I'm pumped.
100%. Here's another thing that I think is interesting. So there are a couple of things that for me that stick out from the press conference. Number one, him having a direct line of communication with the GM and circumventing maybe McDaniel. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, at this particular situation, with this particular regime, with these particular coaching personnel decisions, right? If it was anybody else, I would want them going through McDaniel. But it's Fangio. And Fangio is basically saying, if I want somebody, I'm just going to walk into Greer's office and say, I want this guy. I think that's important to note. And it will be a very different dynamic than most coaching staffs in the history of the NFL and around the NFL currently. There's not too many other defensive or offensive coordinators that can circumvent their head coach to walk into a GM's office. I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm just saying it's unique and it needs to be duly noted. And it's something that we need to look at as we go into free agency, because there will be guys that McDaniel will want on the offensive side, and there will be guys that Fangio will want on the defensive side. And so when both of those guys are walking in to, the Chris Greer's office, who is Chris Greer going to say, hey, look, this guy's going to take priority over the guy that you want, the money, we're going to make it work. I think Greer's got a big, busy offseason and has a very interesting dynamic. And what my hope is, is I hope that egos are set aside. And I think that they are, according to that press conference. It sounds like egos will be set aside and nobody care. Let me say this, and I know this is going to cause a stir within the fan base. There's absolutely no way, shape, or form Brian Flores could deal with his defensive coordinator going to the GM's office. Just want to throw that out there.
I mean, like his offensive coordinator going to the GM's office?
Offense offense, fine. Like that would never work in a Flores team. Okay. At least from what we saw.
Yeah, no
McDaniel's not going to care. Like, it's like, okay, if you so be it. You deal with the defensive side. I trust you. You're the guy. I'm going to deal with the offensive side. When it comes to the players, I think they're both going to go to Greer, and Greer's going to one that's going to have the final say on some personnel decisions of priority. Like,
of course, man.
I'll try to get who you want, but if this guy's here, I think he's more of a priority on the 53 rather than this guy. And I think the options are better here.
I think anyone who's been at a job where the boss is very young, and there are some employees who are more experienced, they're older. I don't think it's uncommon for those older, experienced employees to say, hey, regardless of title, I still have some say here because I know how things run. Okay. And you're right. McDaniel doesn't have that ego. He's going to say, Fangio, I'm not going to sit here and treat you like a little kid, like some first-year defensive coordinator. No, if you think you have some input to the GM, do it. Go ahead. Give it. Okay. If you want something, go talk about it. Whatever. I'm sure he's not going to be an animal and completely step over McDaniel every time. I'm sure he's going to be like, hey, Mike, I'm going to go talk to Chris. I want to make a defensive move. McDaniel's going to say, sure, go ahead. Talk to me about it afterwards. Let me know. Or Chris Greer will tell McDaniel. It's not going to be some secret hush-hush power struggle. No, man, they're going to work together as a team, as a unit. And I love to see that. And you're right, Steven. I'm interested to see how it plays out this season.
And the other thing that some of the fan base is stating in the chat here is we know who the real head coach is. We know that, to me, that's ego talking. And McDaniel is the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Point blank, period. But Fangio is going to have major input and help him. As long as he's here, he's going to help him. And I just see how I think that's how the dynamic will work. And the one thing that you will not see guaranteed this offseason or this coming up season is, and to me, that's the biggest thing, is him walking down the sideline saying to his defensive coordinator, hey, bro, you need to clean this crap up. You need to clean this up now. The way he did 2 or 3 times last year, and it was even caught on camera once or twice. You don't think if it was caught on camera during a game, what do you think the conversation was behind closed doors during the week? There's a reason that Boyer's not here. And there's a reason that Fangio has all of these things. And by the way, it was also stated in the interview that McDaniel also did VPN interviews. I'm just going to throw the VPN out there. The Zoom interviews with him too. So McDaniel had a say. He knew what the deal was by bringing this guy in. And if McDaniel had much of an ego, he could easily go to them and say, no, I want this person. No, Fangio's the guy. And he knows that Fangio's the guy. And let me just state, the one thing I will fight and argue with some of the fan base on is I do not think for a second that Greer, that McDaniel, or anybody has it in their mind that if it starts out, we start bad, that McDaniel has a short lease and Fangio will take over. No, that's not going to happen. McDaniel will have the full year. Fangio will have the full year. This is what we're going to see this year. Let's see how this upcoming year plays out. Okay? But I don't think for a second that there is a safety net that if this year doesn't work out and the offensive fails, that Fangio is automatically going to become the guy. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true, but I don't believe it.
It's just a man who's 25 years McDaniel senior saying, like, if I have some stuff that I want to talk directly to Greer, I don't want to be like, hey, McDaniel, can I talk to you to talk to Greer? Or can you tell Greer for me? No, bro. He's just saying, hey, I'm a grown man. Okay, you could be my son, McDaniel. Can I please talk to freaking GM? Of course, it's not a big deal. It's not an ego thing for him, you know? I think it's ridiculous to sit here and assume that McDaniel's going to have an issue, you know? Like, we can't just completely judge his character like that. Like, he's a man. He can set aside his ego and think what's best for the team. Just a little bit more streamlined communication. Heck, and by the way, yo, I'll go with you. Whatever it may be.
And by the way, so there's rumors saying that McDaniel had Fangio, that they had a relationship and that he wanted Fangio all along. And some people are saying, well, by them saying they haven't had a relationship. No. McDaniel had a list of defensive coordinators that he wanted. And Fangio was probably at the top of that list, whether he had a relationship with the guy or not. So I think that it is still an accurate statement to say that, hey, look, he had a list of people that he wanted, and Fangio was one of the guys. And I believe that.
I'm saying. Like, not having a relationship doesn't detract.
No, but you don't need to have a personal relationship to know that, hey, this guy can make a difference on my football team. McDaniel, I want y'all to think about something. If McDaniel wins a Super Bowl with Fangio as defensive coordinator, McDaniel's going to look like a genius. This is just, the same. McDaniel's okay. This gives McDaniel the best chance to win a Super Bowl. Bringing in a guy like Fangio. McDaniel's all about it. This is not a negative thing. McDaniel's not looking over his shoulder. I don't want to hear that from the fan base. McDaniel's going to be looking over his shoulder the first time he messes up or they start getting on a losing streak. They're going to pull the plug on him. BS. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
You'd have to look at what that losing streak is. Like, what if we're talking about a losing streak where the offense is putting up 30, 40 points a game?
And even if they're not
hemorrhaging. No, what I'm saying is like what? Like, then they would just fire McDaniel and elevate Fangio? No. It's situation. And then exactly, even if it's not, like, I think the leash is a little longer than that. Like, but if we went 0-8, Steven, and the offense is fine,
I don't see that happening. That's such a for TD to say that. That's such an extreme case. And there's no way that happens. Like, I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I would bet all the money in the world that they don't start out 0-8, and that would never happen. It just wouldn't. Is it possible that they start out 0-3? I don't know. They do have the second hardest schedule. There is a learning curve. There's something that has to take flight. My personal opinion is if they are going to have a top 10 offense this year, they're probably going to have a top 15 defense at minimum. And I think it's even possible it's top 10.
Oof. Wouldn't that be something, man? To have at least the top 10 and the top 15
10 offense and a top 10 defense. They're one of the best teams in the league. They're going to by that alone, they will win football games.
Yeah.
When's the last time you saw a team with a top 10 in offense and a top 10 in defense and not win football games?
That's what I was about to say.
Like, it's going to equal to wins.
I'd be devastated if it didn't. We'd have to have like the smallest point differential of all time. if that were to be the case. You know what I'm saying? If we were losing games still, and I just don't see that happening. I just don't see that happening, Steven. I really want to see what the schedule looks like. I don't want like a schedule like we did last year where it was like weird start, very soft middle.
I'm going to say this now, Nando. We're not going to like the schedule. Schedule's not going to work out in our favor. You got to remember.
Never is favorable. Like, I don't care about strength. I care about what games are positioned where and road stretches and stuff.
All right, so a couple things. We're going to probably there's a very high likelihood that we play in Germany. And there's a very high likelihood that depending on when that game's at, McDaniel's been like, he's not going to put the bye week after that. He's going to put, if he has, because he will get the choice. Do you want the bye week after Germany or do you want it later in the season?
Why would you choose no?
Because you want it later in the season.
I hope Germany's late in the season then.
We don't know that. It's probably going to be in October or November. But if it's in October, do you want the bye week in the first 7 weeks? No. You don't.
Please, NFL.
I'm just telling you, don't be like, look, as somebody who's putting on events and saw how crazy my first 9 weeks were last season, I pray that it's spread out. But man, I do feel that we're not going to 100%. There's going to be something about it, whether it's primetime games, whether it's whatever the case is, it's definitely going to be some. We're going to look at the schedule and be like, man, this sucks. I mean, last year we had to go to the West Coast twice, then go to Buffalo. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a rough stretch.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like that's I want to avoid that.
It started a 5-game losing streak.
I mean, there's been years where we're like the highest traveled team in the nation, man. It's just ridiculous. Obviously, like coming from Florida, coming from Miami adds a couple extra miles every time we leave. But road stretches also like that. You're right. It sparked a 5-game losing streak, man. It literally derailed the season. And if those games are a little bit more spread out, who knows what the Dolphins game looks like? You know what I'm saying? Like if you tossed in a couple of the softer games in between that at home, like the Texans game at home, Steven, the Browns game at home.
Yeah.
You lob those in there, sandwich them in a bit. That would have been a lot more helpful. I'll tell you, yeah.
It'll definitely be interesting on how it moves. All right, Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show. Clock Blockers right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. It was Hot Take Tuesday today. We had a good time. We talked a lot. We talked a lot about a lot of different things. We had TD Phins talk on a little bit earlier. We went deep. We did a deep dive into the press conference of Vic Fangio. We talked about that. We talked about Ronaldo Hill leaving the defense coordinator position, coming to Miami, being here. Real quick, Caslin with a $5 donation. Thank you, Caslin. 2010 Chargers top 10 in offense and defense, finished 9-7 and missed the playoffs. Okay, 2010. There we go. I mean, it's plausible. It's plausible. It is plausible. Entirely
so
plausible.
Frick. Hopefully not us. Just another reason why the Chargers are a sorry organization.
But still, you had to go back and look. You had to go back 13 years to find one. I'm just saying. Tomorrow's Wildin' Out Wednesday. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good times. Yeah, that's it. Like, I don't have anything else today. I know I was contemplating on talking about something else, but I'm gonna leave it alone. And yeah, that's it, man. That's all I got for today. Anything else? Any final thoughts for you, Nando?
Awesome. It's been awesome linking with you again, man. I was about to say I'd be down to run a little mock draft. That'd be pretty cool sometime.
You want to do that in the next couple weeks?
I'm down. We
can do a mock draft.
A little PFF simulator. Hop on, do a little mock draft. That could be cool. Run a couple scenarios
for us and how the Dolphins would go about doing it.
Yeah, like let's say okay, entering the draft with the idea that we missed out on a right tackle, so we're a little bit more frantic
Let's
on
look.
that,
Let's
or that
let's look like 3 weeks from now. Let's set that up like 3 weeks from now. We get
I'm
closer to
down.
the draft at that point. We'll be in March at that point, and we'll be.
I think that'd be right
that'll
after the combine too, so that'd be perfect.
Yeah. So let's set up like 3 weeks from now. We'll do Tuesday. We'll Hot Take Tuesday will be draft. What is it? Mock draft Tuesday.
You'll be Chris Greer, and I'll be like your little assistant. We'll be good to go, man.
You'll be wearing the hat, that same hat. I like it.
Yeah, man.
I'm all about it.
The GM hat. The GM hat. We'll think of something, bro. We'll put little Greer's face here or something. Team Greer.
Most definitely. Most definitely. You know, I do want to say one thing before I go. So I know there's some in the community that there's drama or craziness that goes on with the community. But know a couple of things here. Here I try to keep it as calm, cool, and collective as I can. I know that doesn't always make its way, but know that people that I have on my channel, when it comes to the people that have shows up here, Nando, Jason Sarney, Batman, CB83, when they're on my channel, man, I love all these guys. They're absolutely amazing within the community, and I support them and almost everything that they do. I don't always agree with everything they say, but I will always support them, and that my love for them is unconditional, and that's real. And so if you guys are here supporting my channel, I appreciate it. When you guys donate to my channel, I know I ask for donations. I appreciate it. I don't, I'm not able to do this. The only way I can do this every day is with your donations. Otherwise, I could not do this morning show. Just want to throw that out there. Without your donations, I could not do this morning show because I wouldn't be able to help pay bills at my house. I wouldn't be able to do X, Y, and Z. I give you all 3 to 4 hours every morning, Monday through Friday for the most part. I know it's the off season. I'm probably going to be doing like 4 days a week, try to get stuff done. But just know that that's real. If you don't like that, find another channel. I appreciate it. When you guys donate, I appreciate it. It's a big deal. It goes such a long way into helping the channel grow.
You're a real one, Steven.
I try, man. Some people don't agree with that. And if that's how they choose to run their channel, that's fine too,
all I know is I met you, man. And you're a great guy. So that's all I know.
I try to be fair and courteous and kind to others. If somebody doesn't have a problem with me, I try to talk with them, not on a public platform, but behind closed doors.
As it should be.
And that doesn't always work out the way that you want it to, but just know, I hear and I see everything, and I also try to approach people in a certain way, and that's it. And if people choose to talk about other platforms on other platforms, so be it. I can only control what happens on my platform. And even when it's not my show, I try to ask that those people, are respectful and everything. So that's all I will say. If somebody has a problem with how I run my channel, they feel free to talk to me behind closed doors and we could talk about it. But
amen.
I just for the record, I have put that out there and nothing has come back to me. So, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I felt the need to say something like that at that moment.
You got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. And if you're gonna say say it to my face. You know what I'm saying?
You can hate. I don't worry. I'm not worried about the haters. When it comes to my picks and my hot takes, I have no problem with people talking trash about my stuff. That's by all means. Bring it. Like, I want to debate. I want to talk with you.
Bring it, baby.
Yeah. So I wasn't gonna say anything. I was contemplating, should I say something?
No, man, speak your mind. You're a real one.
Even here is 20. Why? Because I can and I want to. Thank you, Trucker Sean.
America, freedom.
But I will say that when I extended an invitation and that invitation is not received, and there's still stuff talking about through other channels or through other media outlets or anything, I do have a problem with that.
Of course, man.
That does bother me. So just because I'm Mr. Spread Kindness, Positivity, and Love doesn't mean that I don't take offense to certain things or I'm not upset about certain things. That does happen. And 100%. And I'll tell you, if I just want when it's here, let's argue and debate Dolphins. We could argue about Tua all day long. We can argue about that all day long, but I don't know. Just know that the invitation was extended, and keep it going
sucks,
for
man.
another hour. I'm not keeping it going for another hour. Not today. Go ahead.
It sucks, Steven. I'm sorry that's happened to you, man. I've had issues with people. I've reached out to some people, cleared some stuff up, and that's awesome. I've reached out to some people, had DMs just left unread.
Yep.
Shows the character, man. If they continue the smack talking of you after that, Steven, after you've reached out, that sucks, bro. And I'm sorry to hear that. Just know, I know we say it at least to your face, but I've never had a problem with you yet. So there we go.
And people, I have had people that have had issues with me and come to me, and we've talked it out behind closed doors, and that's how I choose to deal with situations like that. And the only reason I'm addressing this somewhat in a certain manner is because I just want the record to reflect that there is false information being put out there. And I don't feel the need to address that in general. I'm just telling you that there is. You can choose to believe what you want to believe. And I've also reached out to certain parties and have invited certain individuals to talk on a one-on-one behind closed doors. And, that was not taken up on at this moment. As of this moment, it hasn't been even responded to as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with it, man. And I can feel a little disrespected by it, and I do, but it is what it is. Man. I can be within my own feelings. I have a right to feel that way, but
if you talk smack about someone,
I'm not ever going to take it to that level, and I'm never going to do it publicly. And I respect everybody in their own platform, and it's very hard to do this. So if you do this in any way, shape, or form, I got a lot of love for you, and I have a lot of respect for you. And that goes to everybody in every situation, in every channel. So even if you think Miss Phins is the better morning show than mine, I love you, Miss Phins. You're the best. You're the best, Miss Phins.
Great work.
We know. I say the #1 Miami fan morning show. It's not the #1 morning show.
That way there could be 2 number ones. You and Miss Phins can
That's right.
share the
There's
spotlight.
plenty of #1s for everybody.
All Dolphins get to thrive.
I love y'all. Spread kindness, positivity, and love. Y'all are the best. And tomorrow's Wildin' Out Wednesday. Gonna have a good time tomorrow. Keep it positive, keep it fun, keep it light. And that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna try to do. That's what we try to do. And Nando, tell the people where they can find you, man.
Find me at Nando Talk. We just got to 762 subscribers, so that's awesome.
You're almost at 1,000, cuz.
Thank you, Steven. You've been a great part of that, so I appreciate you, man. It's been a fun year, man. Since it's almost the 1 year since I went on your channel, so we'll also do a little. Hopefully that falls on a Tuesday. So that'd be a pretty cool time, man.
I'm with it, man. I love you, brother.
All for listening,
and
man.
I appreciate
I love
it.
you too, Steven. Thanks for doing this all the time, man.
I try.
Check me out at Nando Talk, but if not, subscribe to Miami Sports Music, man. Let's go.
And thank you for the donations to the people that donated today. It means a lot. Keep them coming in, and I appreciate it. Thank you, man. Be good. Tomorrow, Wildin' Out Wednesday. Have fun, y'all. Peace.
My intuition told me this. To trust the coach, he holds a gift. He knowing when to go with Fitz. So we knowing when to switch. This year we got the golden pick. Time to see what that pick about. Bad vibes get sent out.